right, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it's in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message. Amen. Prayerfully, we have a better setup for you guys today. I apologize. I have a little setup different than usual, even more so today, due to the fact that it was asked that some music be played today. So at the end of this, we'll bring the piano over and try to shift stuff around and try to use our setup to see if we can have a little bit of drum sound in the background. But hopefully all this will work out. Trying to set up things like we had them yesterday so you guys can see the screen all right. It's going to be a little different, but hopefully everybody is well. Thank you for being patient with me. So we got so many devices and so much electronic equipment going on now. Adding a piano to it is going to be very interesting. Matter of fact, as I'm thinking about it, once we get ready to start with the piano, I'm going to have to bring the stool over. I guess before we get started, let me get ready to do that. We'll be starting starting at Matthew chapter 22 and verse 15. If you want to go ahead and go there with us, and we'll read through. Matthew 22:15, if you want to go there, and hopefully you're able to see as best as you can. I know it's smaller because it still seems like it's far away from you guys. It's really only about that far, but it seems, I'm sorry, I got this mirror thing on. So it's only about as far as your screen is away, but it seems like it's a chasm there. But I promise you got a pretty big size screen for you guys. So hopefully we'll be able to do it. Hopefully the contrast works well this time. We worked out a lot of the kinks yesterday. So give me a second. I'm going to go grab the stool because once it's time to play the piano, then I'm going to have to get up higher. So that's the only thing that I don't have set up yet. So just give us a second. But once again, so let's start off correct though. Before I go ahead, well, I'll go ahead and grab my stuff and then we'll start off correct. Hopefully everybody can see well. If you're on the podcast, we're going to pause and come right back to you. Let me grab the stool. That way I don't have to leave the room later. We can go ahead and get into this message this morning. Praise God. All right. Okay. All righty. So welcome, everybody. Appreciate you. I'm going to be doing a lot of ducking around and stuff, make sure everybody can hear. But welcome back, everybody. Appreciate you. Thank you for your patience. We get with the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it is in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message. Amen. Hello, everybody. I am Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. Thank you for being on with us today. We appreciate you. Oh, wow. Well, a lot going on. I still didn't clean the screen from yesterday. Anyways, we thank you guys for being on. Getting a little of this stuff that's irritating me yesterday, and I never came back to it. But we thank you guys. We appreciate your presence. Thank you for being on with us. Thank you for spending some time with us one more again. We're appreciative of you guys spending a little bit of time with us today. Prayerfully, this will help you out again in your journey. Today, we're going to continue. We've kind of ended up in a series without having a series. We've been talking a lot about consent. I think this might be day 4, day 5, day 3, something like that. It's recorded, so if you want to check out how many of them there are. But we're speaking on some of the stuff regarding consent, and we're going to get into where we left off yesterday. Yesterday, we left off at quite the place where we were starting to get into some of the laws that were created in the United States corporation to ensure that a certain diaspora would not be able to advance in certain ways, right? So today we want to take time out to get into some of that with you guys and talk about that a little bit, and just show you some things that we did yesterday. We talked a lot about Baphomet and some things like that. So prayerfully, you'll be able to see where you are. As I move back the screen, when I'm in the screen in front of you, the screen kind of goes away. But as I move out the way, it becomes clearer. So I promise you, you should be able to see. I'll make sure that, like yesterday, I keep that in mind. But hopefully you can see this is magnified. I don't even know. I guess we could possibly magnify it even a little bit more, but that's about where, yeah, we're at 100% magnification. So prayerfully you're able to see it, even if it's small. Prayerfully, I'm sorry, we got to reverse the screen for TikTok. But prayerfully you'll be able to see it, even if it's small to you. And I apologize even for being small, but that's the best that we're going to be able to do for you, at least today. And then at the end of this, we'll spend, I don't know, we'll see what the Holy Spirit leads. We'll spend the last little bit of time. Maybe we'll shoot for somewhere between 10 or 10:30 to do some music, and we'll freestyle as was requested yesterday, and we'll get into some praise mode. And I don't know what's going to happen. I'm actually kind of excited. I got my little, some of you know about this and different things that you can use, but I actually got it set up, a little preview, I guess. But oh shoot, it's going to be difficult to do it on here. All right. I'm learning on the fly, y'all. So work with me. I'm gonna have to be able, but later on we'll be able to do a little bit of stuff with some beats, right? I've been working with it, making sure that when we add the keyboard and stuff to it, we can make it complex, not complex. We can change the beat up. We can do what we need to. I can make the symbols that I like to be on there. Right? We can make it softer, all that stuff. So I'm excited about it. We'll see how it works out. But it was asked, so I told you guys I would make sure I was ready to go, and I would make sure I had some stuff together. So y'all pray for me that it works out later on. I don't play all the time, and I don't mess around with all this stuff as much as I used to. But I think we'll be all right. So we'll see. But I did keep my word. So like I said, keyboard is literally right here. As soon as we finish up somewhere in between 10:30 or so, we'll go ahead into some praise and worship, if you will, on the keys. And prayerfully, you guys want to stick around for that, you'll enjoy. But yeah, and also too, we do have it dark. I do comprehend it is dark in here. That's because it's easier for you guys to see. Let me get the contrast back to what it is for this, so it's easier for you guys to see the words. But it's so that you guys can see better from where you are. All right. So thank you, guys. We're going to go once again to Matthew chapter 22, verse 15. If you want to just read with us on what's on the screen, or if you want to turn to your Bible, feel free. Also, too, don't forget, today is the first day of our Hebrew Israelite. In the Israelite calendar, today is the first day of the last month of our year. All right. So Rosh Chodesh Adar Ba'et, or Resh Chodesh. What is it? Adar Bates. Okay, so this is the 13th month. This is the last month of our year. So if you just stick around and everything for that, you'll see that April 9th will be the beginning of our new year. Also, that means March 13th, which is fast approaching. That's going to be which is Wednesday, and every day. So we won't have any Wednesdays off for a full 40 days. Every Wednesday we will, or every day, but Wednesday in particular is going to start. We'll be live on that Wednesday, at least for the rise, and I'll probably take the evenings off, but we'll be on there live. And we're asking everybody to get something that you can put index cards in, at least 40 index cards in. We suggest that maybe get in the shoebox or something like that, decorating it with your family, being able to be ready to put some stuff in. I'll have one specifically for my family, and I'll have one for SOC, and we'll show you guys how that's going to work. If it's not a shoebox, people talk about possibly a tissue box that you decorate or do some stuff, whatever it is. It's even something you can share with others, maybe share with people down the road. But we'll be putting in some stuff together, and we'll have some themes that we go through. And then once we go to the live sessions and stuff at some point during that day with your families, whether you want to do it with us if you can during the live session, or whether you want to wait till later on in the day and do it with your family, whatever the case might be, you guys can write what the theme is on the side that has no lines on it, and then you can turn it to the other side that has lines lines and maybe put notes and things like that that your family talks about, then you can put it inside the box. All right. So we had talked about that as something we're going to do together as a community. So you still got till Wednesday. Whatever you want to use in it, whatever you want to use to decorate, however you want to do it or whatever, we just ask that you remember we're going to open the box up on Passover. And so the session we have in the Rising and Passover, we're going to open it up together and go through some of those items and things together. And then also too on Passover in the evening, we're going to pray over those things that are in our boxes together. All right. Hello, Garden. How you doing? And once again, just start off with the hello. Number two, they didn't block you. If they muted you, they muted you. I'm not sure why they muted you. But if you're willing to listen or just sit in there or whatever question or whatever theme you felt had to be put out before everybody else's, feel free to do so. All right. But hello to you. How you doing? So if they blocked you, you wouldn't be able to get on. So that being said, we're going to get into today, right? We're not meeting for Passover. Of course, we're meeting for Passover. Yeah, we're going to be meeting. We'll do it in person and also we'll be on Zoom. April 20th through the 22nd, we'll be in Beverly Hills, Florida. I do have, so Beverly Hills, Florida is the city. The specific address of where we'll be, I can try and get it to you. I apologize. But yeah, we're still meeting in person, but we're talking about just for, so I'm sorry I didn't go through all the dates. So we can go through all the dates real quick if you want. So we have, today is the beginning of the last month of New Year. March 13th, Wednesday, we're moving the 11 from our home. And so we'll be on live that Wednesday. This Wednesday coming up, all the next few Wednesdays up through the feast or up through Passover, up until Passover, right? Then April 9th is the beginning of our new year. April 22nd is Passover. If you're meeting in person, that's going to be in Beverly Hills, Florida, April 20th through the 22nd. Let's see, April 23rd through the 29th is going to be the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The 26th and the 27th will be meeting in person there. That'll be in Zoom, on Zoom. I think the 27th will be on Zoom. 26th and 27th will be doing a physical meetup. That'll be in Central Florida. June 18th, we'll be meeting up in Lanham, Maryland physically, or June 16th, we'll be meeting up in Lanham, Maryland physically. June 22nd, we will be meeting up in Atlanta, Georgia, to support Minister Dr. Tamar Hunter, or Apostle Dr. Tamar Hunter and her program. Then after that, we will be going to, and then, I'm sorry. Then after that, well, we don't know exactly where we'll be for two of the holy days, the Feast of Trumpets and the Day of Pentecost. It will probably be probably more West Coast or closer to the West Coast for one of those, Central United States of America for one of those. And then we'll be in the Georgia area, not Atlanta, Georgia area, but like about an hour 15 outside of the Atlanta airport, the big Atlanta airport. We'll be like, was it hour 15, hour 30 minutes outside of that, in the same place that we did Feast of Tabernacles last year. Will be in the same exact place, prayerfully somewhere around April 9th, somewhere in there. We're going to be able to invite everybody down to the land as well, so we can pray over it. And then after that, somewhere we try and start getting a couple weeks here or there for people to come and help out as they would like to with Yah's Land Project in person. All right. Oh, also too, don't forget sisters, December, brothers. We still haven't really gotten much in the way of people who've made suggestions. So we're going to put together a little committee and have something ready for you guys by March 16th, March 13th. We'll start having some meetups with the brothers to kind of figure out if we're going to do a meetup and where that would be. March at sisters, you guys know, and that meetup will be in November, like the third Saturday or something like that of November. The sisters, there's going to be December 6th to the 9th. Everybody's invited, of course, you can come, but it'll be focused on the sisters. But the Women in Red event, which will be on the cruise line, if you want to be part of that or whatever, if you want to partner up with somebody, if you want to share a room with somebody and lower your price, if you want to bring family, friends, whatever the case might be, that'll be December 6th to the 9th. You got to reach out to Sister Renee in order to get more information on that. All right. And we've already decided, regardless of how many of us are coming, we're hoping at least 20 people total are coming, which it looks like we'll surpass, because if so, then we can make sure we have like an area we can use on a regular basis. But even if not, we're hoping that we can at least get, whoever's coming, make sure you put that $100 deposit down. You'll have, so let's say it's $420 or whatever for you to go. If you put $100 donation down or $100 deposit down, then you have from now to August to be able to pay that off. Okay. Let it be known, if you do make that payment, right? Let it be known if you do make that payment, make sure that you know that you're in. Like, you're going to be held accountable to it. If you don't pay it off by August, you're not going to get a refund. This is not SOC. By the way, SOC doesn't do refunds anyways, because we only take stuff via donation. And because of how we're set up, we can't really keep money, so we have to spend it within a certain amount of time, or else we can't keep our EIN, right? We'd be illegally being the religious organization that we, are on paper. So, but regardless on this, it's not even coming to SOC. That's why you got to go through Sister Renee, and she'll hook you up with the people you need to hook up with so you can make sure you make your payment. All right. So that's all the dates I think that we have. And we'll give you more information as we have it. Amen. Amen. We'll be having some kind of SOC community meeting soon for this month, anyways. But I know some of you have been reaching out and asking, so I apologize. This is why we have multiple people also to be able to try and go to. So see if you can communicate with some others who might be more aware of some of those things, who might have access to, so they can be able to help you out. Because I might be dropping the ball, but I am only one person. So I will do my best, though I know some of you have asked and I haven't gotten back to you. All righty. Today's message, we're going to Matthew chapter 22, verse 15, and we're going to go a few other places. Praise God. Thank you guys for your patience. I'm on, and we'll try to get in as much as we can, somewhere around in between 10 and 10:30. My goal is to try and it was requested yesterday that we do some praise and worship, some impromptu praise and worship. So we'll go there. Once again, we give our praise and honor to the Most High. We give our praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Amma, who lives a life that's able to be honored. As always, you can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. Thank you, everybody, for being on. We appreciate you guys very much. As we're going to Matthew 22, verse 15, if you're going to read it with us, whatever the case might be, or if you're going there for yourself, we'll do our Bible pledge in a little bit. Let's say hello, everybody, real quick. Now that we got all the other formalities out the way. How you doing, Minister Tracy? I'll try to call you in a little bit. How you doing, Minister Stephen, Brother Ali, Cultural Prospect, Sister Renee, Michael Howard, Aaron, Sarah, hello, from across the pond. Shalom, peace. How you doing? Hola, mi hermana Sherry. My wife is on once again. The Honorable Amma. Check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. How you doing, Sister Betty? How you doing, Sister Knight? How you doing, Sister Monica? How you doing, everybody? Everybody, forgive me for mischarging to my head, not to my heart. I'm sorry. I'm trying to look at your names, and people are trying to get me to play games on TikTok. All right. How you doing, Sister Sheila? Everybody, lie there, everybody. Also, well, I'll just leave it there. How you doing, Hood Classic? How you doing, everybody? If I miss you, please forgive me. We're thankful and grateful to have you guys on. How you doing, DB? Everybody. Yaakov, Brother Charlie, everybody. Carolyn, Grand Rising to you. Black Steel, Brother Yosef, excuse me. Got a few Yosefs on here, but they'll go by different pronunciations. How you doing, Shabbos? All righty. Yachmaya or Yachamaya. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but thanks for being on. We appreciate you. So everybody, thank you for being on. How you doing, Sister Carla? Oh, okay. Daughter's in the hospital. You help. We pray for Sister Sherry's daughter. We know that she has been going through some different things or whatever. She also, we pray that whatever we can do to help. We know that she's been able to get her hands on some different things, and has been those who are dealing with her and leading her as far as the herbs that she's taking and things of that nature. We pray that you be guiding and looking over her. If it's a matter of fact, you'll have it be the same daughter. But even if not, whatever it is that's necessary, you take your we pray in agreement with your will. We pray for healing. We pray for we ask that her latter days be greater than her former. We pray for any doctor or anybody who touches her in any kind of way, that they be on point, and that they be of your will and your mind, and that they be led by you. And we once again thank you for what you were able to do as Yahweh Elohim. As we learned earlier in the early Rise of Bible study session, you are our Yahweh Elohim, and you have brought us out of bondage, and you've done it before. And if you've done it before, you can definitely do it again. It is in the mighty and master's name of Yahweh that we pray, praise, proclaim, protect this prayer by saying together, Amen. Amen. Alrighty. Praise Yah for deliverance And whatever we can do to stand with you guys, we will do so as best as we can. So we are going to get into today's message. I was hoping that we have some participation with the app, or but this device is giving us a little bit of stuff. So Facebook is taking its time. That's all right. So when it's ready, I guess we'll be ready to roll. But oh, there we go. Praise God. All right. So we'll get ready. Matter of fact, I'm gonna set this up now. So hopefully you guys will be able to see the screen. We're going once again to Matthew chapter 15. Matthew chapter 22 and verse 15. Once you have it, say amen or amen. Say I got it. Say I'm with you. Say I'm listening, traveling, whatever the case might be. We'll say our Bible pledge together, and we'll get ready to participate in this word. I just got to set up the final device. Praise God. One of these days, Pastor Kofi will be better at. I'll be better at technology, and when I am, you won't have to be sitting up here waiting for me to set up 7,000 devices, because I'll be able to just have everything going through one device. Right? We praise Yah for His blessings, though, and how He's keeping us, and thank you, Yahweh, for keeping us in perfect peace. So, let's see. Okay, alrighty. Okay, give me 1 second, y'all. I'm sorry. But hopefully you have it, and we're going to get ready to do our Bible pledge. Matter of fact, yeah, so we're getting ready to do our Bible pledge. Hopefully you got, if you've never done it with us, it's just simple. If you can reverence the word, if you have it in any kind of way, by the way, feel free to. And we thank you in advance for doing so. Alrighty. Almost ready to go. Praise Yah. Alrighty, I think we're ready as we're going to be. Prayerfully, everybody can see everything. All right, so those who are going to be on Facebook, I'm giving you the best that I can. I'm giving you the best that I can. You're going to be at an angle, but at least you'll be able to see. You won't be able to necessarily see me, but you'll be able to see the screen. That's all we can ask for. All right, we'll say our Bible pledge real quick. It goes like this. This is my Bible. This is my sword. In this will I trust. For Yahushua is Lord. No sword of God shall ever be heard. For this is my Bible, and this is Yah's word. Hashem Yehovah. Amen. Amen. All righty. So we're going to go ahead and get into this word once again. We're going to go start here at verse 15 of Matthew chapter 22. All right. And it reads as follows. Then went the Pharisees and took counsel how they might entangle him in his talk. And they sent out unto him their disciples with the Herodians, saying, Master, we know what? That thou art true, and teachest the way of Elohim in truth. Neither carest thou for any man, for thou regardest not the person of men. Sorry, YouTube. Now you can see. Tell us, therefore, what thinkest thou? Is it lawful to give tribute unto Caesar or not? But Yahashua perceived their wickedness and said, Why tempt ye me, ye hypocrites, you hypocrites? Show me the tribute money. And they brought unto him a penny. And he saith unto them, Whose is this image and superscription? They said unto him, Kaiser's or Caesar's. Then saith he unto them, Render therefore unto Kaiser the things which are Kaiser's, and unto Elohim the things which are Elohim's. When they had heard these words, they marveled and left him and went their way. Amen. So we're continuing where we left off yesterday. Today's theme, though, is going to be that silence is consent. Amen. Silence is consent. Silence is consent. If I'm silent about it, I consented. I give consent to it. If I don't bring it up, I give consent to it. If I won't admit that it's a problem, then I give consent to it. Silence is consent. And I apologize. I'm gonna try my best to read whatever is in the chat. If you're on Facebook with us today, because I have you guys, so the screen is facing the same way, so you can see it straight. Because of that, I won't be able to read your comments on Facebook, so please forgive me for that. We welcome everybody who's on the podcast coming later on Clapper. If you're on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, whatever the case might be, we appreciate you all. And if I miss your name today because of the setup, I apologize. Also, too, we got an extra setup today, so as soon as we finish this, around 10, in between 10 and 10:30, we're going to jump over and praise and worship on some instruments today. Praise God. Matter of fact, I just realized I need to bring more instruments over. Well, anyways, we'll when we get there, right? We'll when we get there, we'll get there. But yeah. So they say unto him, Caesar's, right? Caesar's thing, right? Now what's going on here? Remember from yesterday, when we read this passage of scripture, what we're dealing in is that there's a place where they're trying to entrap Christ, right? We start in Matthew chapter 22, verse 15, where it is the Pharisees and took counsel how they might entangle him in his talk, right? And then they sent out unto him their disciples. They didn't even show up themselves, and the Herodians. They didn't show up themselves, right? But they came up with a trap. The enemy, sometimes your enemy, our enemies, they send out people. They have a system in place. It's not just the Pharisees. The Pharisees had people that worked for them. The Pharisees had Herodians they were with, people who were even Hellenistic Jews, people that were anti-Yahusha, but they were sucking up to people of a system. They even are trying to get them on Roman law, right? Because they bring up Kaiser, who we call Caesar, right? So they're bringing up Caesar. They're bringing him up, right? They're Caesar. At this point, well, hold on. At this point, I'm not sure if we're probably not we might be dealing with Octavius, right? Who is the first emperor, kind of, sort of. It is the first Caesar, even though his father, adopted father, is Caesar, right? But there's some weird stuff going on, if you know what I'm talking about historically. But this is about a system, and these people who don't like Yehoshua, nor what he stands for, are trying their best to go ahead and put another system in place or say, hey, I'll challenge you. Whose system do we give consent to? Remember, that was what we were talking about heavy yesterday. Whose system is going to get consent? Ultimately, that's what this whole thing is going to be about in this passage, right? Remember, the Bible is law and case study. And in this law or case study for today, we're seeing how people who are of a corporative system, or in Rome, do as the Romans do. These people who are more romantic and are trying their best to have Balaam doctrine. Hey, I'll give the Most High what's his, but at the same time, I'm trying to give Rome theirs exactly, and I'm going to try to use this to come against the teachings of Yah, but somehow please Yah at the same time. And they come to Christ trying to catch him in something that he would get in trouble with Caesar for, right? Because if he says Caesar, or I say Kaiser from time to time, because Kaiser is actually how you pronounce it. But when it comes to Caesar or Kaiser, when it comes to Caesar, Caesar is somebody who's like, hey, he's supposed to be the Lord. He's supposed to be like a god. He's supposed to be this embodiment. His family, matter of fact, has been chosen by, right? If you believe in their spirituality, their family has been chosen by their deists or deities. And so if you come against them, you come against the system, and the system of Rome is coming down to crush, to put that thing on you, right? And so if they're coming to crush your head, how you doing, Brother Vincent? Then you got to figure out how to say what I render. And so what does he do? He says, look, he asked, they say, what thinkest thou? The question that they came up with, that they sent some other people to do on their behalf, hoping they could lock him up, is what? Tell us, therefore, what thinkest thou? Is it lawful to give tribute, or a tithe even, to Caesar or not? Is it lawful? Catch the words. As much as people keep saying law doesn't matter. Is it lawful? Not is it what you feel like, or is the law bad? Is it lawful to give tribute to Caesar or not? So Yehoshua, master of law, says he perceived their wickedness and said, why tempt ye me, ye hypocrites? Why are you trying to tempt me? Right? So if you're trying to tempt me, what? Show me the tribute money. Show me the money that you're going to tribute. Show me where it comes from. Show me what system it's in. And they brought him unto him a penny. And he saith unto them, whose image is and superscription, who is on the penny, and what name is on the penny? They say, Kaisers, they say Caesars. Then saith Yahashua unto them, render therefore unto Caesar, if it's Caesar's, if you're doing business, if you get benefits or privileges from Caesar, give Caesar what's his, right? But Elohim's things Elohim, right? Now, how are we talking about silence today? Right? Because people are consenting to things in silence and talking about the system. What are we rendering him to today? When we go deeper, we didn't get a chance to finish this up. But now, when we're going to go talk about the stuff today, let's get into what people have been silent about. I wonder what they've been silent about in your so-called country. That yesterday we dealt with that, right? Don't forget. We'll put this up here again real quick so everybody can have the reminder. We used this yesterday. We talked about Baphomet a lot yesterday. We talked about quite a few scriptures. We went through Revelation some, but let's make sure that we put this up here again. 28 USC 3002-15. And you're going to see subsections A, B, and C, right? And when we look at this is 28 USC. USC stands for United States Code 3002, right? 3002, and then section 15. It's going to be subsection A, B, and C. All right. So 28th part of what the United States Code. Look for Article 3002, 15th section, subsection A, B, and C. Subsection A tells you the United States is not a country. You think that the United States is a country, just like you think that England is a country. Matter of fact, like we talked about Washington, D.C. yesterday, a lot of people don't know that London is technically not part of England, right? So if you're a Londoner, you're not really part of England. The only reason you think you're part of England is because you're part of the federal government or something akin to it. I forget if you guys call it the actual federal government where you are or not, but you're part of a federation or a corporation. But the actual place of London is a territory. London, matter of fact, the Queen of England and now the King of England, they have no authority in London. For those who are listening up from across the pond, so you have to recognize, right, that people don't recognize territories and states and countries, right? Every state is a country. That's why you have a State of the Union address. If you want to know about the state of England, then you have to know about the corporative stuff. But if you're talking about England state or England as a state, then you're talking about something that is actually an actual country, right? Well, the same thing. The state of California belongs to the federal government, but California state is in fact a country. That's why if you're in the United States of America, in England, right, if you get driver's license or whatever, it's an English driver's license. In France, if you get a driver's license, very few people are allowed to get them in France or Swiss and places like that. But if you're allowed to get one, right, and if you can afford one, and you can get through the huge thick book and stuff they have to study. But if you can afford it, you can go ahead and you can get on the road, right? But the state, the country gives that. But in the United States of America, you don't realize that states are countries. These are 50 countries that are united, and really united more so nowadays under federal law than under, hey, we got each other's back like we did when we supposedly fought for our freedom. Right. So right, that those of you consider yourself United States citizens, that's what I mean when I say we. So the federal government, right, is over. What? The federal corporation is a fake person. It's a straw man. It's property. It belongs to somebody. United States is a corporation, right? And a lot of people are silent in this. If there's silence, right? There's a saying, not only today we're talking about silence is consent. There's also a saying that silence is complicit, right? Your silence states you're complicit in it. They don't tell you this, which means they're complicit in what? You being an artificial person, part of an artificial country. Then if you're an artificial person belonging to an artificial country, then you are in debt. Somebody had asked me to do this yesterday. We didn't have time really to visit this, but we're going to even bring up something called a debt calculator. Right? Now, some of you know the debt calculator exists. By the way, there's debt calculators for pretty much maybe it's not called debt calculator, excuse me. Debt calculator is what you can use personally, my bad. Well, let's say US. It's probably not called, what is it? US National Debt Clock, excuse me. US Debt Clock. I'll just put in debt clock. All right, here we go. In real time. Okay, so this is how, having a little signal issue today, forgive me, right? Okay, this one I might have to get the contrast back for you guys to see. Give me a second. At least I learned how to do this yesterday. So I'm not sure if that makes it easier for you to see. Whatever, you might have to just trust me on it. I don't know. It doesn't look like it's really clearing up either way. So I'll just put it like this. There's a lot of stuff and it's smaller. Some of the stuff is smaller anyway, so I'm not sure what you can see, but you might have to just trust me, or you can go look up U.S. national debt calculator yourself. Here, you can see that the U.S. national debt is what, 34,501,365,500 something thousand, and going and going and going and going. Always going up, by the way, or going down, if you will. It's in the red. That means it's in debt, right? Debt per citizen. If you're a U.S. citizen, that means you're in debt. If someone in debt is a slave. So you as a citizen, no matter how much money you make, you're always in debt because the people who are supposed to be your masters, they keep mismanaging your money. A lot of people don't recognize this, right? This is how much gross domestic product is being made. It says that there's 27 trillion plus, almost 28 trillion plus, but you're 34.5 trillion in debt right now. This is real time, by the way, supposedly, right? By the way, nobody talks about this. There's bank interest on this stuff, right? Oh, they're making money off your student loan debt. Those of you who deal with student loan debt, that's 1 trillion plus, almost 1.8 trillion. No, sorry, almost, we'll round down, 1.7 trillion, right? There's a U.S. trade deficit as far as what the U.S. trade deficit is with China in the red, as you can see here, 259 billion or so, right? The debt held by foreign countries is about 8 trillion, 8.2 trillion, right? You might not be able to see these numbers. Once again, if you need to bring it up, it's called usdebtclock.org. So go look up usdebtclock.org so you can say I'm not, so you can't say I'm making these numbers up, right? This is stuff that you can look at any time. And this isn't 100% accurate, but this is stuff that happens all the time. Now, if you're in debt, you're a slave by definition. If you're a slave, you're in debt, and you think you're in debt to a country. But once again, this right. By the way, Medicare, Medicaid, right? 1.8 trillion. So you fit somewhere in here, right? Private sector jobs, they have information on that. Self-employed people, they have information on U.S. union workers, all these different things. U.S. retirees, U.S. disabled, all these different things. So you can catch just about anything on here. You got to know the difference between red, green, blue, etc. But it's not, you can find out how this works pretty easily. So you always have access to this. That being said, right? Once again, you were taught that the United States is a country, but you're not in debt to a country, you're in debt to a corporation. Also, too, I showed you it's the agency, department, commission, board, and other entity of the United States. I just focus on board because it's the easiest to explain. The United States in subsection B, 28 USC 3002, 15 subsection B, this is also a board. Why is it a board? It's a board because you have what? A president. That means you have a president, vice president, secretary, right? You have treasurer, right? Heads of state, minority, majority, Congress members, cabinet members, etc. Right? You also have, it's an instrumentality of the United States. It's publicly traded. You don't even think about it this way, but what determines the value of the dollar? How the public that trades it feels about it. Because money is not real. Now I lost somebody. And this is why if you ever caught this, you wouldn't have a problem with tithing. I'm sorry, can anybody hear me? Somebody said they have no sound. On TikTok, can you guys hear me? Facebook, I'm sorry, I can't see the screen because I'm trying to make sure you guys can see the screen the way I see it. YouTube, hopefully you guys can hear me as well. Podcast, hopefully, okay, you guys can hear. Cool, thank you. So, and I apologize for not answering as many questions. I'm trying my best to look back and forth with my setup today. We actually have even more extra than we normally do. And then we're going to have to introduce, the music and stuff in as well at some point. So it's a lot going on today. So please forgive me. But money's not real. I listened to something today, and it actually blessed me. It was I don't know the name because people do so many duets and then share it on so many platforms that it's hard to even know who initially said it. So please forgive me. It's somebody who we would call white, I guess. But there's a young guy who was trying to explain money, and it's a stitch. It starts off with a girl saying that the world, not the United States of America, the United States of America is 34.5 trillion in debt. The world is something like 200, and at least at the time that she put the post of the video, she says the world is $281 trillion in debt. To who? Right? And Then the guy says, man, I got a story for you. I got a parable for you. You're going to love this. He says, there's a guy that comes to a town. He's from out of town. He comes to a motel. He comes to the motel, and the motel says, we got $100. It's $100 to stay here, but also we have $100 refund once you leave. Right? If you don't like it, you can get $100 refund. So he goes and he spends his $100. The motel owner is like, man, you know what? Cool. I got $100. I happen to owe the banker $100. So he goes, he pays $100 to the banker. The banker's like, man, cool. I happen to own the baker $100. So he goes and he pays the baker $100. Baker goes, cool. I happen to owe my teacher $100. He goes and pays the teacher $100. Teacher says, cool. I actually owe the person who I pay rent to $100. They go and pay the person who pays rent. And this keeps happening and happening and happening until eventually somebody owes the motel from before. And they say, cool, I want to get out of debt. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pay the motel $100. And then the guy who's at the motel, he says, oh, okay, I didn't like my stay here. He asks for a refund. He takes the $100 and he leaves. Moral of the story is basically there was really nobody who was in debt if they just worked together as a community. Right. But we don't catch that. Right. So you'll see a lot of stuff that happens like this, and money's not real. If you ever recognize, especially because there's no gold or silver to back it up. And if you recognize, once again, the United States is a corporation and you are part of the corporation is a fake, an artificial person. So your straw man, your birth certificate in all caps, whenever you see your name in all caps and everything, that's indicating the fake version of you. And you keep giving your signature, authorizing the real you to say, do business with the fake me. The fake you is supposed to be your property. It was signed over to you. You're supposed to have as much, or it's not your property, but it's false property. But you're supposed to be able to influence your property just as much as the corporation of the United States. Right? This is U.S. law. This is not me making it up. 28 USC, that stands for United States Code. 28 USC 3000215, subsection A. United States is a corporation. Subsection B, United States is a board, president, vice president, secretary, etc. That also means that somebody has to own the corporation. Who owns the corporation? Not you. Who owns the corporation? Not the president. Who owns the corporation? Not the vice president. Right? Those of you who have done anything in corporations, you know about this, right? And then yes, you are the instrumentality. You are what's the negotiable instrument is you, because they sold the gold to the silver. So outside of land, what do they really have outside of you? That's why your birth certificates are worth about, at least they were worth about $6 million a pop, at least at one point. And many of you will never see $6 million total in your life, but your birth certificate is worth $6 million. Some of you are making 30,000 a year, 20,000 a year. No shade. I'm just trying to give you mathematics. If you make 20,000 a year, let's say you make 40,000 a year. That's supposed to be the average, and that's not the average for a person. That's supposed to be the average for a family. Now, inflation has happened, so who knows? I could be off on this. I'm just going to use. So let me even bump it up. Let's say 50,000 for your family is the median, right? The average. So if you make $50,000 for 10 years, $50,000 for 10 years is what? 500,000. Now that's before taxes, by the way. But let's just act like you actually know what it is to be a non-citizen national. You got your stuff together. You've gone to the state tax place. You've written a letter to the IRS. You already know how the law works. You don't pay taxes. So let's say you've actually know how to be sovereign, and you know that you don't have to be taxed on anything. It's not a benefit or privilege. You don't have to register your children. You have to register your car. You're allowed to be an actual person. Let's say many of us, pretty much 100% of us on here, I would guess, I would peradventure say, did not grow up like that at all, and some of us don't even know what I'm talking about now. But let's just say that's how you grew up. Cool. Okay. So, and that's what you're doing now. Cool. So let's say you had a job, 50,000, or your business is 50,000. You're making 500,000 a year, right? Now, many of you aren't even going to be on that tip I just said, because you're not even living as somebody who's not part of a corporation. But let's just say that you're debt free because you're not paying taxes, right, to the IRS, because you don't have to, because you're not dealing with benefits or privileges. You're not paying taxes to your state because you're not dealing with benefits and privileges. Your land is allodial, all that stuff. And you live, so in 10 years of making 50,000 a year, that's 500,000. Okay. So let's say we take that 10 years and we say, let's make that now that decade, let's make it 6 decades, 60 years of you making 500,000 a year is going to turn into what? 3 million. Somebody would say tax-free, that's pretty decent, but your birth certificate is still, that's only half the amount. And now it's risen in inflation still. But let's just say that's only half the amount of what your actual birth certificate is worth. The instrument that you are publicly traded because you're in debt, right? To not a country, to a corporation, which is an artificial person by definition. Look it up. For those who doubt, by the way, do some research. For if your corporation, if your trust, if your LLC, whatever owns property, you can never defend your property in court. You have to always hire a lawyer. You know why? Because you are not a lawyer. So, right now, somebody doesn't get that. And how you doing? I'm sorry, I know I'm missing names on here, so forgive me if I say your names late or see comments late today. The setup for me is weird again. But how you doing, TJ? How you doing, Sarah? How you doing, Sherry? How you doing, Bree? Everybody, forgive me, please forgive me, right? Elisha, everybody. So, and those who are on, I'm catching some comments, but it's difficult for me to catch the angles. And if you're on Facebook, I apologize, I can't see you at all today. The device is actually flipped around so you guys can see the same way everybody else is. So when you get to this place, a lot of people don't recognize, like, this is not real. So you can't represent. A lot of people don't notice. You cannot represent yourself, or you cannot represent your artificial person. You cannot represent your LLC. You cannot represent your trust in court. Why is that? Because you're not a lawyer. Right? You can represent yourself by law, but you can't represent, like, I can represent myself all day, every day in court. I'm not allowed to represent somebody else because I'm not a lawyer, technically. Right? So, right. And they even say it's crazy, right? But if you represent yourself, guess what you have to do? You have to say you are your birth. It's a catch-22. You got to say you are your birth certificate because you're representing yourself. Or you have to be able to say, hey, I'm not coming here for that. If you're going to talk to me, you're going to talk to me. Right. But if you have a trust and your trust owns your property, you cannot go into the courtroom and say, well, that's my trust, because you'll say, well, fine, if that's your trust, that's your person, that's your slave, that's your property. But you can't go ahead and defend your own slave, defend your own property, not in court, because it's considered to be an artificial person. And as an artificial person, you can't defend it because you're not a lawyer. Yeah, we have formal classes. We have on-demand classes on Patreon and stuff for those that are interested. We can get you more information at another time, or you can reach out. Or if you're on TikTok, if you're on Facebook, podcast, YouTube, and eventually, if you're on Facebook, podcast, or YouTube, you can always look at in the description for more information on how to reach out or even see that. If you're on here, you can actually go to our main TikTok page, click on the link tree, and then just click on click on our main TikTok page, click on where it says website or in the info box, and both of them will say have the link tree information. You can click on the link tree, and if you fill out the form that just gets you your information, somebody will contact you right back and ask you whatever it is that we can help out with, or there might even be a spot on there you can sign up for classes, but that one I would hold off on for a little bit, to be honest with you. But we can figure it out. Right? I don't check my DMs as much because I'm pretty busy and it's kind of difficult to keep up with all the DMs I get on several channels across the board, but I can try my best. Right. But I'm just trying to show you this, right? So this stuff you got to comprehend. This is all part of a corporation, and the corporation doesn't want you to defend another corporation. The corporation doesn't want you to defend another slave. You as a slave don't have the right to defend another slave. Money's not real. There's no gold or silver. They tricked everybody into something in the 1930s. The same time era where they made it a point to actually make this country a corporation. 14th Amendment that you guys love so much, you didn't see that they were actually afraid of freedmen and other people feeling like they could become free. So they changed it up to where if you're born in their territory, now you have to become an American. You can't even be a freedman anymore. And therefore, all the stuff that is for reparations is not for you, because you guys keep saying Black people deserve reparations, African Americans deserve reparations, people of color deserve reparations. But they're like, no, you have to come from a people. And we allowed you guys to become freedmen. Matter of fact, you called yourselves freedmen. And as freedmen, you had a freedman bank and everything. And the United States of America, even Abraham Lincoln, who didn't even like you that much, but he had to recognize your right to be a freedman and have your own bank. When you started making too much money, even though you weren't as educated, you were a harder worker. You made more money. As soon as you started making more money, guess what they did? After they off Lincoln, of course, that was part of something else to get power back for certain individuals. But then after that, then they immediately started attacking yourself. Frederick Douglass was the president of the Freedmen's Bank, or he was maybe like the CEO, but he was definitely the leader of it. But you're asking for reparations. You don't even know what country you represent. And by the way, they took away your right to be freedmen. You have to invoke your right of being freedmen in order to get true reparations. Right? And if you're talking about reparations, reparations are supposed to repair, not PAIR, right? I don't need you to repair my life. I need you to what? Repair. PARE. That means to recut. That's what reparations is, right? You cut us off from our land. So you got to set it up to where you make things what it was supposed to be. If you're not going to take me back, they did that. Monroeville, Liberia, right? They did that already. But if you're going to repair, if you're going to recut it, then you got to cut me some land. If you're going to cut me a check, people are like, give us the check. If they're going to cut you a check, this money is meaningless. It's worthless. We already showed y'all yesterday, some of y'all dived out on cryptocurrency and said, see, it was this. Now cryptocurrency is worth more than it ever was. And a lot of it, not all of it, you got to do your research, but a lot of the cryptocurrency that's out, it's money that's not attached to the system. That's what you want. Just like you want your land to be allodial, in a sense, you want your money to be allodial. And then for those who are saying, well, it's just cryptocurrency, it's not even real money, it's just numbers in the system. There's no gold or silver. So guess what? Your bank card, your debit card, your credit card, your check card, all that, that's the same thing. Your check that you sign it, it's the same thing. It's just numbers in the system. They don't have no gold. If you don't believe me, go to your bank right now. You could have $200,000 saved in your bank right now. Go to your bank right now and tell them, I would like to get all 200,000 out. They will look at you like you lost your mind. And they will say, no, we can't do that for you. Give us a little while. And you know why? Because even if they're scrounging up the 200,000 to one day put in your hand, guess what they have to do first? They have to make sure that they make a profit off of the 200,000. They will invest therefore 200,000 to make sure that by the time they give it to you, you'll only get a certain amount. That's why you can get in an accident. You can have Geico insurance, and the other person can have Geico insurance, right? Ask me how I know. You can have Geico insurance, the other person can have Geico insurance, and you can be not liable at all, and it still takes Geico forever to pay for your car. You know why? Because Geico is going to make sure that they make a certain amount of money and make way more money than what you're going to make, and then they're going to send you the change. Right? They're investing your money, but you've never even been taught to invest. So that's why you don't even think, hey, this stuff that's going to be cut off, this stuff that's going to be allodial in a sense, this stuff that's going to be something that belongs to us, this thing that's going to be private. I literally could get a cold wallet and carry my bank account around in my pocket. Right? Bitcoin is so ubiquitous with stuff. There's children now. They don't even, there's these babies getting jobs now. They don't, some of them are saying, I don't even want to work for you unless you pay me in Bitcoin, or you pay me in Ethereum, or you pay me in Tron, or whatever. They're telling people straight up, pay me in crypto. And you got to recognize that. Like, I know you think that you're still waiting on the dollar bill. The dollar bill money's not real. And even the money that you think is real, all it is falling into debt. But if you're dealing with blockchain is blocked off. A lot of these blockchains are blocked off from this system, meaning that therefore the United States of America can't govern blockchain. That's why they don't like it. It's just like with TikTok. They're thinking about getting rid of TikTok. They're still threatening. They probably won't. It seems like they're trying to get TikTok to sell itself to either Facebook or whatever other companies are out here, Facebook or whatever. Right? It seems like that's what they're trying to do. Right? But regardless of how it works out, that's why they're afraid of TikTok. They can't control it. Right? They were afraid of weed, but it's because they couldn't tax it. They couldn't trick you into saying it needs to be owned by an artificial person. This is what it is, right? I'm just telling you how this system works. You gotta know how the beast works, like we talked about yesterday with Revelation and all that. Okay, so we're talking about. So we've kind of caught up on that. We kind of introduced some things. If you've joined us for the first time, we were asked to make sure that we play some music at the end of the day, so I will not belabor this too much longer. We'll probably spend about let's say 10-15 we'll go until, and then about then, if you give me about 5 minutes to transition, I'll slide instruments and stuff over, and we'll leave the devices on that we need to leave on, and then we'll get ready to worship and do some praise and worship on our way out today. All right. All righty. All righty. All right. Yeah, there gets that TikTok and stuff like that. TikTok's things. Okay. So silence is what? Is consent. Now, this is, once again, look at this. This is the National Park Service. U.S. Department of the Interior. Now, we read some of this already and went through it, so I'm going to read a little bit of it again. But I want you to see how there's already laws in this. Now, what are we talking about in this? This is the slave codes, right? You're in a beast. And by the way, somebody says, oh, you lost me in here. You're making it black versus white. No, recognize that if you're in debt, you're a slave. This is what they're doing to everybody now. Remember, they did it to the Irish. They were doing it to each other before they doing it to you. Even the term Slav is for people who are Slavic. Also, though, the term Slav is something, we remember we just finished our mythology series. Slav also is talking about something that is actually from Norse theology. So if you're of anybody who's of Norse theology, you are okay with Slavs, slaves, a lower class of people. So what they did to us, they do y'all. And remember, we're going to make this clear again. When it says African members, you have to recall what a Negro is. Right? When it says African, you have to recall what a Negro is. A Negro was considered to be anybody with one drop of black blood. So if you were Native American, you were a Negro. If you were brought from Africa, you were a Negro. If you were brought, when I say Native American, that means North America, South America. That means the West Indies, what you call the West Indies, all that stuff. Caribbean. That's Negro. Also, too, Negro referring to even back. Remember, we even showed. They're going to even show it in here again. But remember, this goes back to the Crusades. This goes back to the Spanish Inquisition. That goes back to those who were Negroes and were Moors. And remember, there's even a place called Negro Land in maps that even are up into the 17 and 1800s. And on these maps, you will find, for where my grandmother and people are from, you'll find places over there if you get a chance to go back. If you go to Elmina Castle, if you go to Igbo lands, if you go to Shwe lands, if you go to Ashanti lands, if you go to Ghanaian and Nigerian lands, etc., and you go to the Bread Coast, the Ivory Coast, the Slave Coast, the Ivory Coast, Bread Coast, Slave Coast. What's the other one? I'm missing one, but they're right there next to each other. You go to these places and you go to places they call the point of no return, and you'll discover that on those same maps they called it the Kingdom of Judah because they were looking for Negroes. You got to know who Negroes are during the Spanish Inquisition. They called them people that had locks or hoodies, stood on the street corner. They put poetry over music. They lived in ghettos. You think the ghetto was a new thing or something that happened with the modern Jew. They lived in ghettos, all those things, the Gold Coast, thank you, right? And all those different things. But the people of Judah had moved, at least some of them, we were scattered, but some of them had moved, and it was on maps. And they even have people in the 1800s to 1900s who were missionaries, not black people, white people, who went over there and trying to preach Jesus Christ. And when they went over there, they said, oh, wait a minute, you guys believe in the Torah, you guys believe in the scrolls. And they said, when they would go back, they would tell people, if you're going to go over to Africa, to West Africa, to Negro land, to where these Israelites are, people who say they're Israelites, they told them straight up, you're going to have to learn what? You're going to have to learn your Old Testament. Don't come over here with just New Testament is the only thing over here, because there are people who believe in Yahushua. They believe in the Messiah. They believe in what he's done, but they also believe in still keeping the law because that's where they come from. So he said, you're going to have to brush up on that Old Testament when you go over there. People don't want to hear that today. People don't want to read that today, but that's 1800s, 1900s. Just because in your school they didn't teach you that doesn't mean you can't pick up a book and read it for yourself. So study it for yourself, research, do your research, see if I'm lying, see if Negro land is made up. Right? Matter of fact, let me help somebody out. Right? Praise God for this setup. We don't use this setup often at all, and I don't know the next time we'll bring this back. But there you go. Now, I don't know if it'll be able to show it as much as I want to. I might have to. Let me see. So, yeah, so I'm going to have to change the contrast. I don't know if it'll let me zoom in. It doesn't look like it's going to let me zoom in. So this is the most you guys can see. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're going to have to. But I'll give you a little secret when you go looking for it yourself. Oh, you know what? Actually, let's do it like this. Praise God. Thank you, Father. I'm not that technologically savvy, but I can do this. I do recall how to do this. I'm pretty sure I can do that. All right, let's change the contrast real quick. Hopefully you guys will be able to see a little better. I'm going to try and see if I can. Let's see if it lets me. Oh, it's not going to bring it up. You're not going to let me bring it up? Come on now. This is really slow, so I apologize. I got a lot of stuff on here. A lot of stuff on here. I'm trying to get this book stuff together, so, I beg your forgiveness. Oh, it's still small. Yeah, it's not going to work. It's not going to work the way I wanted to. You see how? You see, everybody thinking the Pastor Kofi just be spending money all day, every day, and pastors just be out here spending your money. Yeah, it's not going to work. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and just give you a little trick then when you look this up for yourself. All right. I'm going to help you out with something when you look this up for yourself. Okay. So let me give you a little trick to catch what I'm catching. By the way, you can look this up on the actually, let me see if we can do that. You can look this up. This map. Let's see, Negro Land map. The Library of Congress actually has this. So you can actually look it up on their website. We'll see if that gives us a little better or not. Probably not necessarily, but okay, no, doesn't look like they give us a better one over here. Yeah, it doesn't give us a better one. So, all right, so I'm gonna give you a little trick when you go and research this for yourself, right? When you look up Negro Land, right? So Negro Land is here. This is Africa, by the way, right? This is the bend and everything over here. You're seeing Ghana and all this stuff. Nigerians live in this area, all this stuff. Like you're seeing all this stuff, right? So Negro Land, they called the strip of Negro Land looking for Negroes. They were looking for people that looked like the Spanish Negroes or the Negroes of Spain, who were supposed to be Hebrews, who had a Hebraic faith until they forced them into slavery and said you had to become Roman Catholic, right? Then they sent word and they started looking, and many countries followed suit, but Spain and others, and Portugal and others, and people who were under Roman Catholic rule, not only did they go to Haiti, right, to look for Negroes and look for the land of Asheroth, which they got from, Christopher Columbus is quoted as doing that. By the way, if you want, go watch the movie. If you've watched the movie before, 1492, in that movie, they tell you that he's looking for the land of Asheroth as well. As something that was known. It's written in the diaries. They brought a Hebrew interpreter with them. They went over to Haiti, and the Haitians told them, yeah, we know people from over here. Okay, so this is not something that we're just making up, right? But on top of that, when you come over here, here's something that'll help you. When you go through this thing over here and you get to it in Guinea, right? You're gonna see over here all this stuff, Slave Coast, this and that. You're gonna see Benin and all these things like that. When you look in this area, right, you'll discover, especially when you look at these older maps down here, right? This is the Library of Congress one that we were trying to look at, and it looked really, really blurry. But do your research. Obviously, they don't make this easy to find, so you're gonna have to really, you might have to go through a little rabbit hole, admittedly. But when you do your research, you'll discover in this area, right? You'll discover in this area that it'll say the Kingdom of Judah, and you'll see that it'll say the scattered Israelites or the scattered Jews. So they believe. So the people who came over here, including even those who were, coming over to preach the word, so to speak, to these people, they believed that these people were scattered Israelites. Not because the people there told them that initially, even though they did, but because they said when they heard what they were preaching and teaching, they said, oh yeah, what they're preaching and teaching in that area, it's literally Old Testament. That's why they started telling missionaries, if you come over here with the mission of doing what? Making sure that you establish a new Protestant or Roman Catholic thing, to tell them why it's okay for them to be under us, you better come with that Old Testament. That's what they said. So I just want you to see. So now, why are they being silent though? Is silence consent? And if we learn this to be true, then is silence consent? Right? And how you doing, Sheena? Right. Sorry, you went through some triggering stuff or whatever, and I apologize. And hopefully you're doing well. Right. So if they know this, if this is the Library of Congress, right? They work for the people that supposedly work for you. They hold together information that these people can go at any time and look up in the library. This is stuff that you can look up in yourself. Now that you know this, right? Silence is consent. We talked about yesterday. Worldly laws are not for your consent. Worldly ways are not for your consent. Worldly lies are not for your consent. If we know this, why are we not teaching it? Something's wrong. Why are we consenting to this? Why are we saying this is all right? Why are we saying, why are there people who are fighting, not just in Florida, around the world, to say that you should not teach it? Why are our churches, why are so-called Black churches fighting against that. You got to ask yourself, is Balaam doctrine real? Revelation chapter 2, verse 14, do you believe in Balaam doctrine? Numbers 22, 23, 24, where people are getting paid so much that they can't teach you the truth. They have to be a stumbling block to Israel. And somehow, some way, they're hoping that the Most High will not hold them accountable for that. It's right here. This was the key. When I found out there was first of all, when I found out there was a such thing called Negro land, it hurt my heart. It broke me a little bit. But then when I learned, wait a minute, the scattered Israelites are down here, and wait a minute, I've been to these places. I didn't even know. I was right smack dab in the middle. Go talk to your people again. Talk to grandmama and them. Talk to everybody. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, that's us. We keep the culture still to this day. Still to this day. If you go over here, still to this day, guess what? You better eat with your right hand. The right hand of the Father, because the culture is the right hand is important. You don't use your left hand unless you absolutely have to. Not because we don't like left-handed people, not because we're ableist. It's part of the culture. Whatever's on the right is important. If I sit on the throne, my wife will be at my right. She'll be at your left, but she's at my right. Why? Because she's the power. She's the one that helps me. Right? The Son sits at the right hand of the Father. Why? Because him and the Father are one. Just like in the physical, in the flesh, you and your wife are supposed to be one. In the spirit, you and her, right? Him and the Father are one. So he sits at the right hand of the Father. Whatever's on your right, whatever's righteous, right, lawful standing, whatever's righteous is one with you. If you are righteous, then you're one with righteousness. If you're righteous, you're one with law. Remember, the law is holy. The law is pure. The law is without sin. The commandments are holy. That's Romans chapter 7. And if you have an uncircumcised heart, you'll allow the flesh to manipulate the law into something it's not supposed to be. But if you have a circumcised heart, then you allow the spirit to be inside so that the law can remain pure. The problem with the law is not that it's of none effect just randomly. It's of none effect because we put our flesh on it. We put our comprehension on it. But when we leave it the way it is, that's your culture. No wonder you don't think you have a culture, because you're worried about your flesh on it. You worried about what somebody else said, right? And these people were silent about allowing you to get to this place. They consent to this. Do you still consent, or will you come out of this? Do you still consent to the world, or will you come out? All right. Somebody says you're just being racist and saying this, you're a reverse racist. Now, no, what we're going to talk about, yes, it involves what you call race, which, by the way, I didn't come up with that term. The word race technically means competition. And if you know about evolution, you know about Charles Darwin's book, and you know about the Carl Linnaeus books and things of that nature, you know that race and species are interchangeable. And they believe that certain races came from certain races. In other words, certain races of people, persons came from certain species of animals, and certain animals deserve to have more chance than others. That's why Charles Darwin's book is called what? The Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection, or the survival of favored races in the struggle for life. What you call evolution was Charles Darwin's attempt to let you know that white people need to be on top. You know, we never talk about this stuff. Charles Darwin was a lunatic, by the way. We never talk about that stuff. What you mean Charles Darwin was a lunatic? He was a lunatic. He worshiped the moon. That's what lunatic actually means. Lunar. He worshiped the moon. Right? If somebody's a romantic, what does that mean? Roman antics. If you're lunatic, I know it's not exactly the same, but it's the same context. Right? A lunatic is somebody who's infatuated with the worship of the moon. Why? Because they worship Ishtar, or who you call Ishtar or Easter. This thing that you don't believe happens. Right? The same logic. There you go. He confesses what the moon confesses, or supposedly who the moon is and what she confesses. Ishtar, the wife of Cush. Ishtar, the mother of Nimrod. Ishtar then becomes the wife of Nimrod. And I didn't stutter. You caught it if you caught it. Right? And then Nimrod, as he passes away, she continues to be promiscuous. She gets pregnant with Tammuz, and she says he's the chosen son that everybody's been looking for, because I know you think that you're the only person that knew that Christ was coming, but they knew that Christ was coming since Barashat Gaimon, or what you call Genesis chapter 3. A child, right? This child that was going to come out the right family, who was going to come out of this woman who's mentioned having 12 crowns on her head in Revelation 12, who's travailing in much pain in Genesis chapter 3, the way she's going to be travailing in much pain in Romans 12, who Isaiah 9 tells us about in Isaiah 9, 6, and 7, who Jeremiah chapter 3 says is going to come out of the wife, because we are his wife. All right. I'm just saying. So before we go there, I'm trying to show you this is a spirit. So will we talk about race? Will we talk about racism? Will we talk about laws and principles and things that are keeping us apart? For sure. Right. Just giving you a heads up. This for educational purposes only. You might not be able to handle it. You might think it's a little bit much. Trigger warning. We're gonna talk about some real stuff today. Trigger warning. We're gonna talk about some real stuff today. Trigger warning. We're gonna talk about some real stuff today. All right. So matter of fact, I kind of lost the other one I wanted to go into. We're gonna talk about Jim Crow too, but I couldn't find the Jim Crow stuff the way I wanted to. So it is what it is, right? So let me get our contrast back where it was. Y'all said that you see better with the contrast the other way. All right. So let's go ahead and get this together. Praise y'all. Thank you, Sister Carl. Appreciate y'all. And once again, I am really sorry for not catching you guys' comments as much as I normally do. The setup, as you guys know who are with us on a regular basis, this is a way different kind of setup for me than it is. And one of them, I even have the device. There's going to be two devices in a second that are going to be turned the opposite way, so you guys can see, from properly from left to right in reading English, right? So I apologize for that. I really do. If I can't see you guys the way we normally would, prayerfully we'll be more like our normalcy, back to our normalcy, starting tomorrow, definitely by Wednesday for sure. Prayerfully we'll be outside for Wednesday. I would like that. Right. And once again, don't forget about removing the leaven from your home. That'll start Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern New York time or 6 p.m., whatever it is, right? Okay. So laws that bounds. Now, once again, this is from whose perspective? National Park Service, U.S. Department of the Interior. U.S. Department of the Interior. Now, I want you, because there's U.S. departments, part of this corporation and stuff, people don't even catch, right? So what does the U.S. Department of Interior do? The Department of the Interior manages public lands and minerals. Manages what? Public lands and minerals. Don't miss this, right? Public lands and minerals, national parks and wildlife refuges, and upholds federal trust responsibilities to who? To the Native Americans, to the Indians, to the Native American, they say tribes. Remember, we showed why tribe is not a word you're supposed to use, right? But to the Native American branches or families or nations and Native Alaskans, which, by the way, Native Alaskans are Native Americans. Don't let them fool you, but they're putting words in here to be able to allow certain foolishness to happen. Additionally, Interior is responsible for endangered species conservation and other environmental conservation efforts. Okay. Native Americans are an endangered species. They're considered to be animals. I don't know if you caught it, but also too, federal trust. So their responsibility is not to the endangered species as much as it is to what? The public lands and minerals that they're supposed to be over. Right? Silence is consent. Why is it that they don't tell you this? What do they want us to consent to? What are we consenting to? Come on, Native Americans. I'm not the only one that's got some Native blood in them. Why are they not telling you that there's, matter of fact, in your mind, you just think interior is like an interior decorator or something. But they're telling you straight up, their first responsibility is not to the Native American or to the Native or to the indigenous Americans. Remember, the original definition of an American is a copper-colored person indigenous to the Americas. And you see in this, they won't even refer to them as Americans, not even Native Americans. They say Indian tribes, right? But Indian tribes, first of all, there's no such thing as a tribe unless you have three in one. Never let somebody legally, lawfully try to call you a tribe, because that's not who you are. You see what I'm saying? It's changing. Then on top of that, Native Alaskans. But Native Alaskans are Native Americans because by definition, a Native American is an indigenous person who's copper-colored, indigenous to the Americas, right? We've talked this before. Don't allow people to try and confuse you on this. If you're talking about Native America, if you're talking about America as a colony, right? colonists are never referred to as what they are colonizing. Don't let them play you. Colonizers are never referred to as what they're colonizing. They don't identify as it. Right? In Haiti, there was a colony of Haiti. But if you were over there and you were Blanc Cajon or Blanc Petit, in other words, one of the big whites who have more money and were the actual like owners, the slave owners and stuff, and had more property, or a little white who was working for them, hoping to become a big white one day, you were still French. If you were in the United States of America, you were an American because you were in a colony because you came from England. You were English because you were in a colony that belonged to who? England. You had taken over and gentrified it and made it look like you, but don't get it twisted. The Negro, even considered to be the actual American, is different than you. It's different than that. You see what I'm saying? Don't let them fool you. Don't let them twist this thing. You're getting into a place where you don't recognize, you don't see it. I'm trying to help you. Right? No colonies, right? When territory is the same thing as colony. When the United States is a territory of the Philippines, right? If you were to go to the Philippines, you are not a Filipino because you are now in the Philippines. Right? You can live in the Philippines for 5 years. You were not considered to be Filipino. You were still considered to be what? Many of you are U.S. citizens. So you would say what? You were still a U.S. citizen. Right? If you go to China, let's say China gets in a battle with the United States of America. It doesn't seem so far-fetched anyways, but let's say United States of America and China get in a battle, and the United States of America takes a third of China. That third of China would become a territory, right? And those who would live there, the Marines, the sailors, the soldiers, the airmen, and whoever else would come over, none of them would be considered to be Chinese. Because you're the colonizer, you're the person who takes the territory, but you're not Chinese, right? So you hear these terms, you'll even see they're trying to misrepresent here. All right, I'm just trying to show you. So the Department of the Interior, you got to recognize who this is, who they work for. Their whole goal is to tell you we have every right to public lands because we're Americans. No, you're not. We have every right to these minerals because we're Americans. No, you're not. We have every right to national parks. When I go to national parks, it's a bittersweet thing for me. I love to go, but especially because of Anakitawaya, which is a branch of Cherokee. When I go to places like, well, I'm not going to say only Cherokee lands. How about when I go to places like Akokik, or I go to what's the place with the waterfall down in Georgia, the big waterfall everybody goes to. Can't remember off the top of my head, but or even for our anniversary last year, we were blessed to be able to go to a place and do some canoeing and stuff like that on a river, or call it kayaking nowadays, but and go to these places or whatever. If you go to the mounds that are in Georgia, if you go to there's pyramids in Georgia, right? People forget that pyramids are all over the place. Thank you. Tallulah Falls. Exactly. Tallulah. Well, Tallulah Falls is one. Tallulah or Tavallah Falls is one, but there's another one too that even has it's known for just being a straight waterfall. Like everybody just kind of comes there only for the water. Tallulah Falls is amazing, and I guess you could say it's mainly focused on the waterfall, but it has some other stuff going on too. But yeah, and all these different places that you'll go to, right? They're doing their best. Would you say it's a discussion have or paid to use parks? Yeah. And all these discussions that you do or whatever is bittersweet because this is your land. But they say it's a national park. But if it's a national park, it belongs to the people. But it doesn't belong to the people. You can't just do whatever you want in a national park. They have to protect it. But they're not protecting it from what you think. They're protecting it. They're making it public land. Remember, public. Don't get it twisted. Public means what? What does public mean? If I were to say public, it's the same as saying beast. What does public mean? What does public mean? It's corporative, but there's another word I'm looking for. What does public mean? Come on, Sovereign. Somebody in here knows. As soon as I say it, you're gonna be like, "Oh wow, I knew that." How you doing, man, trucker? All right, thank you, Sister Sheena. What does public mean? Not free, right? Every state has public parks, but some of those states you got to pay to go on there. Even for veterans. I'm a veteran. That one was weird. All right, public means government. If it's private, it's not the government's. If it's public, it means the government owns it. That's it. Right? If it can be a private corporation and still be publicly traded. That means that the government now has right to be able to look over what you're doing as far as trading goes, but they can't tell you certain things with your company because your company's still private. So public is just saying it's government. So when they say the Department of the Interior, which belongs to the Corporation of the United States, right? It belongs to the Corporation of the United States. I'm trying to help somebody. This is why you got to take some of these classes and stuff. This is classes within itself. I'm helping, but that's why some of this stuff is foreign to you, right? Even if you don't take it with us or whatever, I'm just saying you got to get some of this training. You got to read some books. You got to get some of these pamphlets at least out here, right? But the Department of the Interior that works for the public corporation, the government corporation, the corporation called the United States, right? Is this Department of Interior a department in the board? The United States is a board, right? And so the public lands, the government lands, they're trying to say these are government lands, these are government minerals, these are government national parks, right? And wildlife refuges, it's our wildlife, so we get to say what happens with the wildlife, and upholds the federal trust responsibilities to who? To Indian tribes, not native indigenous peoples, not Native Americans, not people indigenous to the Americas or the actual Americans. They changed the name up to Indian tribes. Remember, we told you a tribe has to be three, TRI, and a tribe was supposed to be somebody who was against Rome. Three different groups, three nations that would not stop fighting against Rome at one point. They called them a tribe. So if you're not three nations, you got to be at least three Native American nations to even be a tribe. You see how they moved the goalposts? All right. And Native Alaskans, who are the same as Native Americans, but they're trying to say, oh, this and that. By the way, if you notice this then, because if they make the demarcation, well, then why would they have to take care of Native Hawaiians who are losing their land right now, who everybody just acted like they forgot about, who Oprah and The Rock did they weird little thing, who Meta Corporation is trying to take their land and do all this stuff, who now is becoming a battle between the owner of Meta and the owner of X. You see that? When you don't know how to read what's going on, you'll get messed over. So now watch. Additionally, Interior, the Department of Interior, don't let them get you twisted. Additionally, Interior, the Department of Interior, is responsible for endangered species conservation and other environmental conservation efforts. But this is considered to be a race. This is considered to be a race. Race is species. Species is races. So of course they would put endangered species underneath them. These people that they made endangered, they get to say how they'll conserve them and what their environment should look like and what efforts you should put towards it. If you try to do anything different, including if you're a Native American or an Indian or a Native Alaskan, we'll come against you. I'm just trying to show this is language. This is language. People that we're making stuff up, right? So I'm just trying to show you there's a spirit that happens with this. It's not as simple as black and white. It's not. I haven't been saying the white man is the white. I'm talking about the American. I'm talking about the corporation, right? There's black people that are up high in the corporation. Don't get it twisted. Some of y'all gonna twist my words and think that I'm just talking about white people only, or some of you who consider yourselves to be white, because we've already talked this before. Technically, there's not even a such thing as a white person. Just like there's no such thing as an American Indian, unless literally you are an indigenous person of the Americas, and you also have people that are indigenous from India. Okay, some of you are going to get caught on this today, and you're going to miss what's actually going on and how you're being duped because you're thinking I'm about to do a reverse racism thing. I'm trying to show you how they're twisting words all the time. They're doing the same thing with your taxes. They're doing the same thing with your vehicles. They're doing the same thing with your children. They're doing the same thing with your marriages. If you didn't notice, all those things are registered to the state, to the country, you're in, or to the corporation. All of those things I just mentioned, your children, yourself, your land, your home, your right. Some of you even do ground rent. So you own the property, but you don't own the land. If you're in DC, you own the property, but you're not allowed to own the land. Some of you in Baltimore, if you own the property, you're not allowed to own the land. Maybe you can get it, but you got to get yourself a lawyer and go to the Ashkenazi group that's in Baltimore, and you got to ask permission. Tell me I'm lying. I'm just trying to help you. This thing is devious. It's not as simple as just black and white. It's easy for us to see some of this stuff in black and white. And this has been a lot of our plight who's on, the people who listen to us. Most of you are of my diaspora. So it makes a lot of sense to you for doing this. But I'm trying to show you how this thing is happening spiritually. Right? There's a lot of you who don't get a bundle of rights. You don't even know what a bundle of rights is to get something allodial. You can buy an allodial car. You can get allodial land. You can ask for it off top. I want my stuff to be allodial. You don't know what these terms are because nobody's teaching you. And once again, silence is consent. It's not just complicit. I know that's what one saying, but silence is consent. They're not telling you this stuff because they consent to you being in this way. Psalm 122. Can I just give you a scripture real quick? Let's go here. We're going to read. I'm just trying to make sure that we're all on the same page. I really got to actually speed up because we had the promise of making sure that we play some music on the end to keep our promise. So I'm going to go to Psalm 122. This is the third step of the Song of Degrees, or the Song of Steps, the oldest steps. You're supposed to be able to read Psalm 120 to 134. Each division of Psalm is supposed to be its own step, right? But Psalm 122, all right? We read the first part. We don't even want to hear the rest of it because people trying to call us reverse racist. But remember, you got to be grafted into Israel. You got to be grafted into the kingdom. Israel is supposed to be the only nation that has been created specifically to ensure that it followed nothing but the laws and the commands of Yah. I know you don't want to hear that, but that's what it says. And you'll preach this stuff, but you won't preach it in its entirety. You won't tell the truth because you may not know it. But there's a song of degrees of David, right? A song of degrees, a song of steps. Like there's an ode of Moses. There's a sing when you get to heaven, and you don't tell people to make sure that Deuteronomy 31, 32, 33. Some of you argue 34, all that stuff, right? You don't tell people there's a song that those who get up to heaven they need to know. It says it in Revelation. So why would you not make sure people learn it in Deuteronomy? Because you don't think that it's necessary because you know the law doesn't matter. When you get to heaven, the same law that you're saying is going to be applied in heaven. You're like, it doesn't matter. Yahashua says in Matthew chapter 5, verse 20, you should know the law greater than the scribes and the Pharisees, but you say he doesn't care about the law. All right. Anyways, so Psalm 122, 121st division of Psalm. This is why we're getting waxed. The kingdom of heaven suffered violence, and the violent are taking it by force because they're forcing their way in because you don't know the law. And you don't even know how to unlock certain spiritual laws, principles, etc. Okay? Watch this. So that's why sovereignty is always going to be attached to spirituality. Any cat you're talking to who deals in sovereignty, I promise you, they have to deal in spirituality. They will automatically. That's why your hand going on the Bible when you go to court, you can put it on the Quran or something else, but it's going to be on something spiritual. People who are into Scientologists, they put it on all types of weird stuff when they go to court. But you got to put your hand on something when you go in there because this is a spiritual bond. All right. Now watch this. This is what we need to be against. And then let's go ahead and start reading this stuff. I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house. That's the bit. That's the family. Let us go into the family of Yahweh. Whenever you see it. Capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D, right? Capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D. That means that we're dealing specifically with the name. All right. No way, no how, no way out of it. Matter of fact, when you see Lord God, it always means Jehovah Elohim, or what you call Jehovah Elohim, right? So I was glad, we all agree on this part so far. I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the family of Jehovah. Our feet shall stand within thy gates. Our feet, now not everybody's feet. Whose feet? Our feet shall stand within thy gates, Yahashalam. All right, so somebody might say, well, that just means that, whoever's getting into Jerusalem. Until you say, well, wait a minute, Jerusalem is builded as a city that is a compact together. We're supposed to be a compact nation coming together, squeezing together, right? And here they are with this word that's not befitting us, but nevertheless, whether the branches, whether the people, whether the 12 branches go up, the branches of Yahweh unto the testimony of Yahashada'al, to give thanks unto the name, the nomos, the shem, the authority, the law. Remember, name, even in the Greek, for those who want to go Greek. Now, you guys go off of that weird tradition where it's half Hebrew, half Greek, which is not actually how the Bible was written. But no matter which one you want to use, Hebrew or Greek, name in both languages means authority. And it also means law. Stop in the name of the king. name matters. Law matters. Okay. So what does it say here? Whether the branches, you call them tribes, or whether the branches go up, the branches of Yahweh unto the testimony of Yahashua to give thanks unto the authority, the name, the Shem, the nomos, the law of Yahweh. Who is that supposed to be for? Those who are or graft into who? Whether the branches go up, the branches of Yahweh unto the testimony of, to give thanks unto the name of, for there are set thrones of judgment, the thrones of the family of who? That's even talking about a specific family, even more specific. So what? Pray for the peace of Yahashua. They shall prosper that love thee. Peace be within thy walls. The walls of what? Yahashua, Jerusalem. Peace be within thy walls. Prosperity, the ability to push within thy palaces. For my brethren and companions' sake, I will now say peace, shalom, shalom. That's our greeting, right? I will now say, for my brethren and companions' sakes, I will now say. So if you're my brother or my companion, you're my brother by blood, or you're my companion, therefore my brother by spirit, I will now say shalom, peace be within thee. Now remember, Christ, we read some, matter of fact, if you go right before this, I think what we read earlier, you're dealing with some of this, where Christ sent them out 2 by 2. And he said, don't take any money. Don't take any extra clothing. Don't take a pair of shoes with you outside of this. Like, just go there. And when you get to the person's house, what do? You grant them with what? Shalom, with peace. It's cultural. Peace be within thee. Because of the house of Yahweh, our Elohim, I will seek thy tabah, or thy morality, or thy righteous standing, or what is constitutional, or what many of you call, because of Germanic language, good, because you don't know that God and good are the same thing, and God and good can be whatever you want them to be, as long as you decide to worship them. Yeah, that's okay. Thanks for letting me know, though. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's all right. Matter of fact, somebody was trying to record for the thing earlier today. I actually didn't have a problem with you when we did early rise of Bible study session. I'm sorry. I accidentally pressed. So whoever that was, I forget who it was, but please forgive me. I didn't actually mean to deny you the right to do so. I know you're doing so because of some and the AI stuff that you have to use because of your age and stuff. So, and some things you're going through. Please, I hope that didn't come off offensive. Whoever, I know I can't remember the exact person, but I recall some of that was going on in my head. So I pressed the wrong button earlier, just to let you know. Right. So all these things are there, right? Okay. So this is for a nation. This ain't for everybody, right? And we need, as a nation, we got to figure out who's trying to come against us with this Balaam doctrine, anything to hold us down. All right, let's do this. We got about 20 minutes left, and then we're going to get into the music as promised. I'm going to just read through. We read through a lot of this already yesterday, so I'm just going to do a little bit of reading through, and then we're just going to kind of discuss some stuff. I'm going to do reading through. I promise I won't stop too many times, right? Here we go. All of the colonies. So this is written by who? The Department of the Interior, who's supposed to be doing what? They are supposed to be protecting government lands and minerals and national parks, and trying to say they belong to a corporation called the United States. All right. Right. Which we know is not a country anywhere in this definition. All right. We just want to make sure that we as a nation, as we come together, we got to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do and become compact together under our law, under the Most High's law. All right. Here we go. All of the colonies developed laws to establish and maintain dominance over African members. Now remember, African just put Negro in there. They're doing some stuff where they're not even trying. Now remember, they're supposed to be talking about, this is supposed to be the U.S. Department of the Interior. As the U.S. Department of the Interior, they are supposed to be ensuring that they are focusing in specifically on what? They take care of the land and stuff and Native Americans, but they're not even trying to mention them. They focus on African members. They forget to tell you, or just conveniently are silent, right? Silence is compliance, or I'm sorry, silence is consent. So they're trying to be silent and trying to basically give consent to not giving Native Americans any play in this. But when you hear this, just put Negro in there. Now that we've explained what a Negro actually is, right? You got to realize Negro is basically anybody that has Negroid features. They don't make distinction between branches. They don't make distinctions between city states. They don't make distinctions between, they do it for Greeks and for Romans and stuff. They don't do it for you. right? They don't make distinctions between different places and stuff. They just say all of you guys are Negro land, all of you guys are Guinea, all of you guys are Republic of Congo, all you guys are South Africa, all you guys are Morocco. All right. So just you got to realize that. So when they say African, you put Negro in there, and when they say Negro, they're Negroid features. They just saying that all people that look the same or all people of color to a certain degree. If you got one drop of, matter of fact, remember it's the United States. Other countries didn't necessarily do this, but the United States, they just said in England, right? They said if you got one drop of black blood, you just black. Okay. All right. Here we go. All of the colonies developed laws to establish and maintain dominance over Negro members, right, of society. This held true for Negroes. Now they're trying to trick you into stuff. I already explained it, right? So this held true for Negroes who came to the New World as free agents. What? Watch what they're doing. They weren't right. They weren't slaves. Don't think of them as slaves first. They came to the New World as free agents. Like they had a right to be able to choose what team they played for. Servants or as slaves. Okay, so eventually we get to slaves, but they were free agents. They came off like everybody else. Don't let them fool you. Black people had just as many rights. And this goes into that when they play this game with you, there were white servants too, and there were white slaves too. Right? The bodies of law that evolved, how law evolves, I don't get, but the body of law that evolved, known variously as slave codes, known what? Variously as slave codes, okay? Black codes and Code Noir, right? That's French. They aim to limit African social, economic, and political autonomy, as well as to control the growth of a free African or Negro population. Yet, whenever possible, Negroes use the laws to their own advantage. Now, watch this. They're going to try to trick us, right? If you fall for it, right? And some people have fallen for it. Unfortunately, we have a lot of brothers and sisters who've fallen for this okie doke. As crazy as what I'm about to say sounds, they've fallen for it. And they'll be the first people to tell you what, that black people use the laws to their own advantage, so that by the end of the colonial period, there existed a small but politically active core of free Africans, free black people. Black people were all over the place. Negroes were all over the place. Negro progeny among the nation's founders. We were just mixed in. Everything was cool. Initially, North American colonies, right? Not North Americans, North American colonies. Remember the distinction now. There's a distinction between a North American and a colonist. A colonist is not a North American, whether they're born here or not. You've been lied to. That birth certificate thing didn't even exist until like the late 1800s, right? You talking about that you had to be certified to be able to be somewhere, and if you were born somewhere, no. If an African, right? Watch this. If I take chocolate and I put it in milk, it's still chocolate put in milk, right? You don't say you drink chocolate and milk. You say you drink chocolate milk because the chocolate has affected it. But it's still chocolate milk. You also can't say on the same time it's just one, right? It's not one thing, literally. It's actually two things that are put together. You still separate it. You know the difference. If somebody gave you chocolate syrup and gave you chocolate syrup and milk put together, you would be able to tell the difference in taste, in texture, and looking at it, correct? All right. So don't get this thing twisted. Just because some people came over and they put something on you and they put a belief system on you and this and that or whatever, that doesn't mean you're an American. I'm sorry, that you are a U.S. citizen. It doesn't mean that they are Americans, right? They'll have these weird things. Well, in South Africa, I'm more African than you because I'm a white person from South Africa. I'm more Ghanaian than you because I'm a white person from Ghana, and I actually speak more Ghanaian than you. First of all, you can't speak more Ghanaian. There's many Ghanaian languages. You can't speak more South African. There's many South African nations, right? That shows how immature and how crazy you sound. Number one, but number two, just because you're born there and you might speak the language, it doesn't, like, I speak English. Does that make me an Englishman? Only when I speak it, which unfortunately a lot of us speak and think like that. But if I speak, this is why it's important that you have your own language and own culture and stuff like that, right? But just because I speak English, that's a sign that somebody forced me to speak. Reason you speak, let's say the reason you speak Kosa is because you happen to be down there and your people took over the people who were there long enough. And so now because that was forced in there, they also have grown up in a forced environment where you had to go to their schools. And so you might have learned a few dances and you might have taken some classes and you might have learned how to play some stuff on the xylophone, but you're not more African than I. No, sir. It's like the $5 Indian who keeps telling you that he's Native American, that she's Native American. How are you more Native American because you paid $5? And for back in the day, that was a whole lot of money. And therefore you became native, and then you changed what the DNA was to say that your DNA is actually native, and then you messed up our dances, you messed up our ways, you messed up the way we look at the rain, you messed up our crops. You gave up being Hebrew and you decided to be Christian. They never talk about that with natives, by the way. That natives used to actually talk a lot about the Torah, right? Go do some research. You'll discover a lot of natives keep talking about Torah over and over again. Not things similar to Torah. I'm talking about they keep talking about Torah. Matter of fact, my branch of Cherokee, right, what you call Cherokee, but my branch of Cherokee called Anakitawaya, right? Uh, that literally translates to the people of Yah. Like legit. No lie, right? My cousins, if you're Choctaw, I know we got some Choctaw people in the house, your original name actually translates to the people of the skirts. So, cousin, if you Choctaw, right, and I'm Anakitawaya, then we literally are two people. You put our names of our branches, our authority, our name, what we were named by the Most High together, but we named ourselves in honor of the Most High. And that name is literally come together. Those two names come together that we are the people of Yah, who literally are the people of Yah, even down to the skirt. The anointing that's on us, it even goes down to the skirt. Like Psalm 133, right? How great and pleasant it is when brethren come together in unity. It's like the dew that comes down, or it's like the oil that's on the head and goes down even to the beard, even Aaron's beard, and goes down. It's going to get trapped in the skirts. It's cultural. Why are they silent about this? Why are you not being taught this? Why is it that literally DNA tests have been done for years? Before you were allowed to know what DNA tests were, when they were doing DNA tests on you, they already knew that you were coming back. And a whole bunch of people who are called black, I think it's like what, 80-something% of people. And I'm not saying you have no African blood. A lot of you are mixed with a lot. They put everybody in the same barrel. A lot of you have Irish blood and Irish hair. Right. Matter of fact, here's another thing for you. A lot of people don't know. You guys know Genghis Khan had a bunch of babies, right? Like a crazy amount, like something to where it's like legendary, but it's not even legendary. Like Genghis Khan was out here wilding when it came to these women, right? He had his main wife, but outside of that, he was always in sex. He had all his babies and stuff like that. People forget how much Genghis Khan and his people and progeny scattered it. So here's another thing. A lot of you are walking around Mongolian and Chinese and don't even know it. By the way, don't even know that Chinese and Japanese and Bantu people are related anyways and speak the same languages, right? But a lot of you don't even recognize that you're Mongolian because red hair is not something that's only Irish. Now, a lot of us have Irish blood in us, don't get it twisted, but a lot of you that have red hair, a lot of it's because of Mongolians or people who came out of the Mongolian Empire. The Mongolian Empire went for hundreds of years, just like the Roman Empire did. The Mongolian Empire was bigger, right? So I'm just trying to show you, right? Like and once again, it's not just about race as you know it, right? It's bigger than that. I'm talking about the spirit of this, okay? Anyways, that's just a little side point. That's somebody rabbit hole for them to go through later. Okay, but watch this. So initially, North American colonies were not slave societies. Not true, right? Go to Florida when the Spanish came over, go to Louisiana when the French came over, go to all over the place when the French came over. We act like the French were only in Louisiana and Louisiana Purchase area. They were all over the place too. Go to what Spain was doing when they took over California, right? Khalifa is a group of people, the people of Khalifa. Khalifa was a female chieftain who became deified by them after her passing away. So I'm just trying to show you, like, there's a lot of stuff in here that people aren't aware of, right? So when people say, "How do I find this out?" and they try to hide stuff from you, right? But yeah, so slave societies were over here, right? African servants and slaves arriving in the 16th and 17th century. Now they're going to go against themselves in a little bit. We just read this yesterday, but African servants and slaves arriving in the 16th and 17th centuries had opportunities to become free and some legal rights and considerable control over their day-to-day lives. Not really. Are we gonna say there were no free black people? Of course not. But to act like this was this thing where everybody just had opportunity, then eventually it just devolved. No, like people came over here looking for slaves. Don't let them fool you. Here's your ace in the hole, by the way. Somebody says, nope, I believe them. I believe the government. What they're saying is true. Stop trying to change all this stuff. Okay, you ready for this? You ready for this? Here's your ace in the hole. When they give you that fake Thanksgiving story, who do they always bring up? Squanto, right? His actual name is Tisquantum. Tisquantum, not Squanto. His actual name is Tisquantum. And if you were to look up Tisquantum, when they found him, he actually did speak English. They don't tell you he spoke French as well, but he actually did speak English. And they taught in schools, right? I got any 80s babies, y'all know that I'm telling the truth. Any 70s babies, maybe 90s, they might still teach this in school today. But any 80s babies who went through Western teachings, at least Western teachings in the United States of America, probably Canada. I'd assume. Now I'm making an assumption. Now I don't know if this is what they taught in England or anything like that. But they just taught you like they really presented to you like it was just a miracle. Like and by the way, that's supposedly what they wrote in history, is that it's a miracle. Squanto could speak English. It was God was on our side. He could speak English, and he was able to help us and get stuff together, and everything was merry. No, Tisquantum was a slave. People that came over, right, decades before, they had offed his wife and his child. They had thrown all types of disease on everybody, but he got back his original branch that was part of his original people, his original nation. They were done. They had all passed away. Not in the UK, okay, right? They had passed away, right? So then, when this happened, when they came over, they had taken Tisquantum. He at first was sold into slavery in France, or maybe it was Spain. Maybe he spoke Spain. I think it's Spain. I could be wrong. One of those two. I think it's Spain. He was sold into slavery into Spain, who was already diving into Negro slavery and stuff, right? Had already been in it since at least 1200s, at least since the times of who? Christopher Columbus. So you got to give him at least the late 1400s. And then he's sold from there to an English family. And then the English family does allow him to be free. It's not quite clear if he bought his freedom or whatever. I don't know if it's said that what it is or what it's rumored to be, but he then comes across and comes back to this slave colony that they're starting to make up, right, called the United States, where they sent prisoners. Right. We talked about this for those of you, if you want to look up when we talked about the police in London and kind of where that came from on that Sunday. We took a long time to show you guys. And we talked about, how you even get the name Scotland Yard and stuff like that over there because of the back door. It's not even the front door of what the original police station was and how it was set up, but the front door and all that. We talked about all the people leading up to it and how they were sending people in slave colonies or to slave colonies like the United States. Well, now as the United States of America and what you know today to be Australia, which is why a lot of these people are wicked. And even the people that you call Puritans, they weren't liked. And they were like Protestant movement on steroids. And the king actually wanted to off them. They ran away. Then they didn't like the people that were Dutch, I believe, where they went to Deutsch. So they tried to come back to the place that wanted them off because they hated the Deutsch so much because they were so racist, right? Racist, not just meaning white versus black, but these white English Protestants didn't like white Deutsch people so much. And when their children started speaking the language of the Deutsch, they said, we got to get out of here. And they came back and they asked permission to be able to be sent over to the slave colony, the prison colony of the United States of America. And the king said, whatever, and put them on a rickety boat, hoping that them and other people, prisoners that are being put on board, hoping to set that same ship that had almost sank twice before. He was hoping that it would go down for real this time, and they happened to make it over in a rickety boat. And the lie is they came over to Plymouth Rock. There's no such thing as Plymouth Rock, by the way. That's just something that makes people money. If you go over to even what's called Plymouth Rock, you'll actually be very disappointed, right? In what you find. Some of you probably been, right? But there is no such thing as Plymouth Rock. It's all a lie. It was made up. It was all a lie. There is no, and when they got there and they didn't know how to feed themselves, they even were getting to a place where they were starting to eat each other, even eating people out of their graves. That's not made up. That's in his story, not my story. That's in his story. And then once they did that, they come across somebody like Squanto or Tisquantum, who by this point has not a Uncle Tom mind, because Uncle Tom was the hero. He has a Sambo spirit. And he basically helps them out. He speaks English and he says to them, yo, I'll help you guys out. Just make sure when y'all start enslaving people, because he already knows what time it is. He says, when y'all start enslaving people, just make sure that I'm all right. and maybe you can give me a little bit of property and maybe even a couple slaves my way. And so he helps to be a traitor to the nation that had taken him in, the same nation that didn't trust him because when he came back, something was wrong with him. They hadn't known that he'd gone into that Sambo spirit. But you read this stuff over here, you swear that everybody was just equal over here, and this thing of slavery didn't really exist yet, and they hadn't gone to the slave codes. But who wrote this again? U.S. Department of the Interior. What are they supposed to do? Protect this stuff for the corporation of the United States. Protect the endangered species that they made endangered, these humans, right? All this stuff. Then they'll sit up here and say, see, so there was no such stuff here, this and that or whatever. But here's the problem, though. Law in Spanish America, Spanish law and custom based off of what? The 13th century. They just lied to you. You're telling me no Europeans were dealing with slavery at all. And yet, 13th century, they're Castilian slave codes. 13th century is 1200s. You told me 16th and 17th century. Or 16 and 1700s. Which one did they say? Let me get it. Yeah, 16th, 17th century. So by the way, that means 1500s, 1600s. That's earlier than a lot of you think of too. But no, you lied to me, because how can it be? Wasn't in the 16th, 1700s, everybody was straight. Then you say, no, Spanish law was different. Spanish law was different. All of them European, fam. All of them making money off the land. All of them divvying it up. Spain was taking over the Khalifa people. Spain was in Florida. They over the Seminoles. Matter of fact, they were better. These slave owners in Florida were better than the slave owners in the North. I know we're coming up on 10:15, so give me a little bit. I'm gonna wrap this up in a little bit. We're gonna get into the praise and worship and the music. I'm gonna do my best to freestyle it. That's what I was told, freestyle. So I'm gonna do my best. We'll see what worship comes out of it. Hopefully, it helps you guys to kind of have a nice little day. We'll try to give you a little soothing stuff, a little bit of stuff with some kick, but we'll try to see what we can do. Amen. But I know the time is getting short, right? But you're telling me that the Spanish in Florida, they were so much better to the slaves that people ran over to become part of the Seminoles. African slaves, Native American slaves, Negro slaves, they went down to Native American tribes in Florida and became a nation. And then left and went all the way through Oklahoma, and y'all was trying to chase them. When y'all finally got to Florida, you were like, we're not going to let these slaves get away. The ones that became free, the ones that had their own children, we can't let people think that they can have their own nation. You chase them into Mexico and then started a whole war where Mexico fought against you and fought with John Horse, who they still to this day have high regard for, and the Seminole people, who they still have high regard for. And by the way, we don't even realize that a lot of people in Mexico consider themselves to be Afro-Mexican. There's technically more people who consider themselves Afro-Mexicans in Mexico than there are people who consider themselves to be African Americans in America, or what you call America, the United States of America. So somebody lying, somebody got some explaining to do. Lucy, Lucifer, whoever you working for, whoever working for you, somebody lying. You can't sit up here and tell me that nobody knew about slavery until the 15th and 16th century, and here you are telling me that in the 1200s there were laws over here. And that these same people who you're trying to make look worse, we were running into their arms because they at least promised us freedom if we fought against y'all. Now, would they have taken it back? Who knows? Probably. But we were running to them. Just like when you have the national anthem. You know what? I'm sorry. This has been like a little series. We're gonna end up coming back to this. There's no way I'm gonna complete this today. Right? I'm gonna have to get straight into it tomorrow. I apologize. I also was running late trying to get all this stuff set up today. I even ended early Rise of Bible study session today just to ensure that I would have enough time, and I still was like 20 minutes late. I apologize for that. I thought I could do it. All right. Anyways, though, so we'll have to start here again tomorrow. We've actually gotten further, believe it or not, right? But these are things that are right here, right? And they're trying to tell you that these people who were worse and stuff like that, like these people were worse in their eyes, yet we ran to them, just like during the national anthem. The national anthem, read the third stanza, right, where it talks about. Let's just once again, we got access to it today. Right? They didn't even used to show this stuff completely, right? You had to like know where to go. Now, because everybody knows about it, they put it out here. Here's the complete version of the Star Spangled Banner, which, by the way, wasn't even your national anthem. Somebody had to see this in the 1900s later on and say, yo, that racist stuff they were spitting in the 1860s, fam. Oh no, not in the 1860s. What we talking about? Are we talking about 1812? We talking about 1700? No, 1812ish, 18 somewhere in there. Forgive me. Somebody correct me. And somewhere in 1800s, right? Where you're still dealing with the British versus the so-called Americans, right? So this complete version of it was just a poem, right? It was just a poem. It wasn't a song yet. And when they started singing it, you used to have to sing all 4 stanzas. They stopped singing all 4 because they were like, "Ooh, as we getting bigger in Jim Crow, and now people calling us out for stuff, this 3rd stanza, really ain't hitting." It hit for us because we all about that slave life. But other countries started listening, and they like, and these other countries, by the way, don't even like America's national anthem is very violent, just in general. Even if you take out the knowledge of that, I used to be in the United States military. I used to actually play the national anthem in different things, whether it was on drums, as part of a marching band sometimes. So whether it was on drums, whether it was on the sousaphone, the sousaphone, the big tuba, right? Tuba looking thing is not a tuba, but people. It's the same family of instrument, whether it's been on trumpets, whether it's been directing, right? Whatever. I've done this, right? Whether it was holding a flag, holding rifles, whatever, just standing attention, etc. I've been part of a lot of ceremonies, right? I've seen this, right? And and people from other countries will tell you, "Yo, man, your national anthem is violent, bro." like y'all talking about rockets and this and that, whatever. You listen to other national anthems, you'd be like, "Oh, dang, like we are kind of violent." in that, right? At least when I was part of it, when I would say we. I mean, I'm a veteran, so I guess I still say we in a sense, right? But anyways, complete version of Star Spangled Banner showing spelling and punctuation from Francis Scott Key's manuscript in the Maryland Historical Society collection. So if you'd like to go see it, you can actually see it in the Maryland Historical Society collection. Somebody probably thinks you're lying, right? So you can go see it for yourself. Oh, say, can you see? We know this. By the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming. We know all this stuff, right? Whose broad stripes and bright stars to the perilous fight, or the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, right? And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? The flag, over all this violence and everything, it still waves. Or the land of the free and the home of the brave? Question mark, though. Is this really the land of the free and the home of the brave? So it's actually a little more to it than what we think. We just put an exclamation point on that and we end the song there. What's the second part? Well, there's more to it. Because are we home free yet? Is the war over yet? Wait a minute. On the shore, dimly seen through the mist of the deep, where the foe's haughty host in the dread silent reposes. Okay, so the enemy coming in, right? What is that which the breeze or the towering steep, as it fitfully blows, half conceals, half discloses? Kind of sort of see it. Now it catches the gleam of the morning's first beam. All right, so the sun's coming out in full glory reflected, now shines in the stream. Okay, now we see what's up with this vessel. 'Tis the star-spangled banner. Oh, it's not even the enemy. This is actually an American ship. Cool. 'Tis the star-spangled banner. Oh, long may it wave, or the land of the free and the home of the brave. So this was talking about just the flag the whole time, right? Oh, okay. So off the shore, this and that, the midst of the deep, all the things doing it, the smoke stuff. Who's won this and that? Who's are we still standing? Is the war over, right? Or the land of the free and the home of the brave? Is it? See, question mark. You see, that's why I like that it said it's going to give you the punctuation. The original thing is, did we win yet? Did we win yet? I see the Rockets and this and that. Did we win yet? That's just the first stanza. All right. Next thing. Oh, okay. The sun's coming out. The smoke is clearing. It's half concealed, half disclosed. Wait a minute. In full glory, we can see the Star-Spangled Banner, the flag. It still waves. Okay. What's the next one? And where is that band who so valiantly swore that the havoc of war and the battle's confusion, a home and a country should leave us no more? Their blood was washed out, their foul footsteps pollution. Who we talking about? Who we talking about? Wait a minute. Who you talking about, bruh? Who we talking about? Who are these people, right? Whether it's the band who so valiantly swore, they swore allegiance, that the havoc of war, the battle's confusion, and the confusion, they're supposed to be an allegiance to us. A home in the country should leave us no more. They tried to leave us. Their blood was washed out of their foul footsteps pollution. Their footsteps were a pollution to our land. Who are you talking about? Wait a minute, no refuge. There's no refuge. What could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight and the gloom of the grave? But guess what? And the star-spangled banner in triumph doth wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the... Y'all see? Y'all see it? Right? And then flip it. Because what are you supposed to be later on? You call yourself freedmen. Before that, oh, thus be it ever when freemen shall stand. We the freemen. And they called this the home of the brave. Now this time it's no question mark. So wait a minute. What is a brave? They told you that they called braves savages. They called braves savages. We're the braves. We're the Americans, right? We're the freemen. I'm just... But you hear this and people say, we should stand up for this. You should stand and look. I'm a veteran. I even feel weird because I spent so many times in my life standing up for it. But when you learn the truth, I can't stand up for this. No longer. I'll still salute, even though I know what that flag represents. Every once in a while, out of respect, especially when somebody passes away at a funeral, if I'm doing a funeral or something like that, I swear to you, I still stand up and will give a salute out of respect for the veteran who was willing to give his life at some point and ultimately lost his life, but at some point was willing to give his life for that flag because he thought it meant something different. I respect it. Respect. Out of respect. And I'm not talking about I give the little, I'm talking about I give you that bam. Right? Like I'll stand at attention for a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes out of respect. That's what we're supposed to do. That's who you are, right? I don't mind it because we brothers in a different way. Even we was mismanaged, we were mistaught, but we brothers in this. We brother and sister. I can't say sisters, but we brother and sister in it. I'll give you credit, right? Now watch this. After all this, he says, "Oh, thus be it ever when freemen shall stand between their loved home and the war's desolation. Blessed with victory and peace, may the heaven rescued this land, heaven allowed this, God allowed this. Praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation." It made us a nation on the backs of often other nations. Then conquer we must. Here, what do we talk about when we talk about that 4-piece in a biscuit? We talked about the doctrine of discovery. We talked about evolution. We talked about the lost cause. We talked about the white man's burden, and we talked about manifest destiny. Here we go. Here we go. But right, bless the victory and peace made the heaven rescued land. Praise the power from heaven. Praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. Then conquer we must. Then our cause it is just. And this be our motto, in God is our trust. And the star-spangled banner in triumph shall wave o'er the land of the free and the home. Why did nobody ever tell you that there were all these other stanzas? People act like the third stanza within itself. When you read all the stanzas together and you get the full context, you're like, oh, this is straight foolishness. So it is what it is. I'm going to keep my promise. It is what it is. Those 5 words sometimes in life, they help you to get to the next thing. It is what it is. Amen. So we thank everybody for being on. We appreciate you. I guess we'll do some announcements at the end and we'll see how the Holy Spirit flows. Remember, March 13th, we're going to get into removing the leaven from our home. I'm going to bring the piano over now and keep my promise. We were asked to see if we could do some piano. I'm going to be messing with volume and a whole bunch of stuff over here because I don't know exactly how this is going to work itself out. I might even have to ask you guys in the beginning how the volume's showing. I'll try my best. I don't think I can keep it on Facebook, but I'll try my best to keep you guys on YouTube and on TikTok if you want to stick around for a little bit of praise and worship. Or I don't know. Should we do praise and worship as its own YouTube post? I should be doing more for you guys on Patreon. That's an easy one I could put on Patreon, and I still haven't been doing that. We'll do some more of these jam sessions. I'm getting more back into the music anyways. We got to finish up these beats for the children, and now I'm doing lyrics and stuff. So at some point, it'll be the pretty praise and worship today. You know, it'll be the pretty praise and worship, but I do beats and stuff. So that stuff, I guess, is going to be coming up soon. I'm trying to finish these books now. I'm taking advantage of modern technology and speaking the book and then correcting that rather than trying to type it all by hand. I know I'm being lazy. It is what it is. But we'll get into that. So we'll just transition into it. So those who are on with us, I know you came for a lot of different things. I'm keeping my promise from yesterday. We were asked that we do a little bit of music, and somebody said you can go ahead and freestyle. I was telling them it's going to have to be probably freestyle. I did rehearse, not as much as I would like, but I at least got it down to where I can kind of go back and forth. I'll make it pretty easy. I was going to do some bass lines and some other stuff and try to make it a little more this and that or whatever, but I could not make it all work yesterday. But so for those of you who are leaving, this is not a sign off, but for those of you who might decide to leave and not listen to this part, and you came here just for the message, by the way, thank you for doing so. I appreciate it. And sorry, for you, but sometimes it's all right to praise Yah in different ways. Right. But for those of you who are not going to be with us at Facebook, we're probably going to shut down in a second. And, the other platforms we have shut down. So thank you guys for being on. We appreciate you. We give our honor and praise to the Most High. We give our honor and praise to him for my wife, the Honorable Amma, who lives a life is able to be honored. And hopefully you guys remember, as always, that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in the system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, fam. Peace. For those of us that are still on, praise Yah for you still being on with us. So I'm going to do my best to set this up. I really don't know what beats or where we're going or this and that or whatever. But if you don't mind giving me a second, if y'all want to leave and come back, it'll be fine. I'll start off slow anyways, and I'll be testing stuff out. But if you want to, let's say, what time do we have now? It's I have 10:28. So you might have 9:28 where you are. You might have 8:28, 7:28. Some of you are across the pond. So I don't know what you guys are. I forgot 5 or 6. So it might be what, like 3:28 or 4:28 where you might be if you're across the pond, or I don't know where in the UK some of you might be. So, but let's say when we get to, by the time I'll probably be on before this, but let's just say to be safe, by the time we get to 33. I'll probably be testing some stuff in between there, so the music will start, so to speak. But as far as feeling like I'm comfortable with volume levels and all that stuff, because the keyboard that I have, I don't actually have it set up, it coming out of my speaker, so it's just coming out of the keyboard speaker. So I'm gonna have to balance out and see if you guys can actually hear what the balance is. I might even, you know what? Let me see if I'll ask them across the way. You guys can help me out too if you don't mind, but I'll ask them across the way if they can kind of look out for us and let me know if the volume is balanced. So we're just gonna move everything around a little bit. We got several things, including even changing seats and all that stuff that have to happen. But we'll get started in just a little bit. Praise God. Hallelujah. All right. So by the time it says 33, we'll get started, or we'll be started. All right. Thank you for your patience. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go into YouTube and redo it and tell it to and start saving these as go back and save these as a series. I didn't think this was going to be a series. I didn't mean for it to become one, but it definitely is one. So this will be our shout out, by the way. So however you want to deal with the shout out today, this is going to be our shout out, by the way. I'm not going to play music after the fact, and I'm probably not going to be able to put images up. So I don't know how we're going to operate in that. And forgive me, I'm trying to I got so many wires and stuff today. So many moving parts. Okay. We'll see if that's going to work. Let me get our Facebook stuff saved. Okay. That should be loud enough, I think. We'll see. So I'm gonna need y'all to help me out with balance. Those of you who are still on or on early, I guess I said 33, but might need a little bit of help with this stuff as far as making sure that, because I'm not sure how loud the drums, especially with this has pretty great bass and it's in the corner of the room, so it's gonna give a nice little oomph on it. So you guys might have to tell me like, oh, that's kind of, hey, that's kind of loud, bro. you might let me know. All right, but I think we'll be fine. We should be fine. So, and like I said, so I'm going to be very limited with the type of beats I can do. Right? I mean, I could try and stop here. Oh, I said I need to get another instrument. I sure do. I don't know if I'm going to have room for it. I got a djembe that I'd like to use today. But I don't know if I have room for it, to be honest with y'all. Let me try. Let me see if I can get it. One of these days, we have a whole band set up for you guys. Pull the drum set out and everything. Had to get some people obviously to join us though. This is not sure if I'm gonna use this. I'll just show it to you guys before we get started. It's actually not mine. It's actually Solomon's. Shalom. And this actually has the Gi and Yame symbol on it. And this is actually dealing in Alav or Aleph, right? If you look at the stuff on the bottom, you'll catch some of it kind of in there. I gotta be careful with this. But yeah, so he also has another one that has a straight up Gi and Yame symbol on it as well. But yeah, so I can't really play it correctly like this in this space, but you can't really make the correct sounds because it's not in the ground. But yeah, there's only three sounds technically. You have bang, pop, right? Even though you can do some of this stuff, but whatever. But we'll see. I don't know if I have enough room because I have to really have it on the ground to play it correctly. It doesn't really make sense to have it up there. But anyways, we'll see what happens. So y'all help me out. I'll be looking in the chat. Y'all help me out. You might have to tell me when we bring the drums in. If it's too loud, if drums are too loud. I got the speakers right next to you guys for the most part. I know YouTube and TikTok kind of different, but actually, let me see something. Yeah, so you should have one speaker close to you. You guys should actually have two speakers surrounding you guys. So hopefully it'll be where it's all right. So we'll see. I'm going to start the drums. I'm not sure if we're going to turn the tempo down or not, but I'm going to start the drums. All right, let me see. Yeah, so we'll see about changing the tempo. But right now, we'll just start with what we got. Like I said, I'm a little out of practice putting this stuff together. As you can see, this is a very makeshift studio kind of environment. It's not really a studio environment. That is not what I wanted to start. Well, we can start with something like this. So is it? I forget, was it? Okay, that's right. unto our dawn, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks. Oh, give thanks unto Yahweh, for he is great. Yes, he is great. Oh, give thanks unto Yahweh, for he is great. He is worthy, for he is worthy, for he is. How many of y'all know? How many of y'all know the choir things like this? Like, how many of y'all grew up in choir? So we're going, oh, give unto you, for he is. Yes, he is. The choir. Oh, give unto, for he is. Let's try it one more time. Good time. Oh, give. I know y'all laughing. Some of y'all know what I'm doing. Yeah. Oh, give. And then we do it. For he is. For he is. For he is great. Yes, he is great. For he is. Yes, he is. For he is. Yes, he is. For he is. Yes, he is. One more time. For he is. What's that mean? He is. Forgive unto. For he is. Yes, he is. Forgive to. For he is. Here we go. For he is. For he is. Here we go. Sorry. Forgive. For he is great. Yes, he is. Forgive. He is worthy. For he is. For he is. For he is. Sorry. For he is. For he is worthy. For he is. For he is. For he is. For he is great. For he is great. For he is. For he is. Yes, he is. exceedingly, abundantly, above all that you could ask or think, according to the power that worketh inside of us. So try to get exceedingly, abundantly, above all that you can ask or think, according to the power that you're working inside of us. Yah's able to do just what he said he would do. He's gonna fulfill every promise to you. Don't give up on God, 'cause he won't give up on you. He's able. Hey, he's able. Right, y'all need y'all to help me out on this part. All right, just wherever you are, if you can, you're gonna do like this. All right, let's try it again. Say, God's able to do just what he said he would do. He's gonna fulfill every promise to you. So don't give up on God, 'cause he won't give up on you. He's able. He's able. He's able. He's able. Yeah. All right. Y'all remember the Timor choir? Here we go with the O's. Say, oh, 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 he's able. You say. Sorry. Let's try it again for the musician. We say, oh, 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 he's able. All right, y'all follow my lead. Oh, 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 he's able. You say. Oh, oh, he's able. All right, let's try it one more time. Oh, 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 I can't get it. He's able. Help me say. Don't give up on God, 'cause he won't give up on you. Don't give up on God, he won't give up on you. In the middle of your circumstance, God's right there to protect you. So don't give up on him, 'cause he won't. We worship you with hymns of adoration. We worship you. How many people remember this song? This is the old one. Let him. I don't remember the words. So I'm gonna mess up the words. We'll just freestyle, I guess. Maybe it's not even the song. There's a voice that cries out in the silence, searching for a heart that was desperate, longing for a child that will give it their all, give it all. He wants it all, and he's saying, love me with your whole heart. He wants it all today. Search me with your eye now. He wants it all today. Lay down, let go of your idol. He wants it all today. He wants it all today. He wants it all today. He wants it all. Sorry about my voice. I know my voice is terrible. And he's saying, love me with your whole heart. Search me with your whole heart. More of you, he wants it all today. lift up our hands as a lifting. We lift up our hearts as a lifting. Beyond the hills is where our help comes from. We lift up our hearts to where our help comes from. We realize where our help comes from. Let our King be lifted up. Hosanna. Sing Hosanna in the our King be lifted up. Hosanna, be lifted higher, higher, be lifted higher. Yahshua, you be lifted higher, higher, be lifted higher. Yahshua, you be lifted higher, higher, be lifted